Hey everybody, welcome to Real Fish Talk, the inaugural Season 2, Episode 1, even though I've labeled it as 28 because I forgot the first guest would be number 1 of Season 2.
Number 1, Season 2, so this is like 2.01.
Yes, it's like an update. Assume it makes no sense. Like, why'd you go from 1.6926 to 2.4? There was nothing in between. Because someone wrote it down.
Because it's
The engineers.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't release all those.
Yeah, those are the test fixes. They didn't work, that's how we got to here. We had 37 guests between now and Mr. Tazawa Tanks, but none of those episodes worked out. And so, unfortunately, we had to skip a bunch, and that's how we got here. But we are pleased to have Zenzo from Tazawa Tanks. We have across from me in the new format, if you haven't seen us on the Real Fish Talk before, in the... I kind of like, we can do a thumb war. So we battle back and forth for the guest's attention.
That's right.
And so we have Joel of the Corvus Oskin Show is the co-host, as you guys hopefully are familiar with. And today we're going to talk about how to make some money, or at least generate income when it comes to the aquarium hobby. And, I'm always shocked that you still do that because you have like a career, you have a wife, you have kids, you fly around all the time.
Yeah.
So tell us what you do to make money. Like, what are some of the things? Then maybe we'll tackle them one by one. And
So we're talking about making money in the fish hobby, right?
Yes,
so,
yes.
So I thought about different ways that I can make money in the hobby. And it wasn't that I needed the income, but it was because I wanted a way to be able to support the habit and not have to worry about my electric bill, which was $600, or me deciding that I want to buy a dozen more tanks or buying this fish. So I decided that the best way for me to do it is to start a service business. So I looked at a bunch of different avenues as far as generating some income. And I've been doing fish for a long time. I've been keeping fish, 30 years from my first tank when I was a little kid up until, more recently with all my craziness. But a couple of years ago, I was talking to my wife and said, I have a bunch of tanks and I have people always asking me about advice and can you help me with this? When I'm at the store, people are asking for advice, or I would just kind of overhear people. And I thought there's a need for another person to be in this market and help people out. So I did some research and spent some money on, on my gear and kind of made some investments there, and just kind of started to plow the way with Craigslist as my advertising, and picked up some nice customers, and that's what I'm doing. It's my second job. It's not my real Monday through Friday pay the bills job. It's the secondary income that allows me to, play with fish.
all right, how long have you been doing? Like, how long did you just start the maintenance portion?
Yeah, so the maintenance business kicked off about 2 years ago.
Okay.
It was at maybe a little bit more than 2. Was it 2 or 3 years ago? It was a while ago, and again, it was just starting off with just a couple of customers, and then people would refer me, and I would get referrals. I mean, I've done a lot of jobs where I'll advertise, and someone will call me. Not because they want me to service their aquariums all the time, but they're like, I'm moving, or I'm injured and I have to move the tank from the den to the living room, or my wife's upset because the tank looks like this. Can you help me get it back to normal?
Oh.
So I do a lot of that kind of stuff, which is nice because then it's income that I don't have to worry about fitting it into my normal schedule. I'll say, okay, I can be there Thursday evening, or I can come on Saturday morning. And with my job, because I travel so much and I'm not home, it really works out that way. But it's been a good solid 2.5 years that I've actually, got a business license from the city, and got business cards and made that investment. So,
Yeah. How much do you make roughly, like, would you guess, per month or something like that? Like, how much does it supplement that hobby?
Yeah, so not a lot. It covers my electric bill, basically.
Okay.
So if I have just my normal customers, and I just keep a few, I don't do a lot of customers, so just my handful of customers that I keep, I'm making $600 or $700 a month.
Okay.
And that's me doing just a handful of tanks. So like, for example, one of my customers, they're in a medical office building, and they have 2 tanks. They started off with 1. It was really small. They called me for an emergency project and said, help us out. This guy called me. He sent me an email at 9 p.m. at night and said, I need help. He had some pictures of his fish tank, and I said, they're going to die tonight. So he drove to the office building, let me in. I did a big service at like 10:30 at night. And basically, it was a 40-gallon tank, or like a 37. It wasn't like even like a 40 breeder, just like those, boxes.
Yeah.
And he had an Oscar. He had a pair of angelfish, some gouramis, a giant pleco, Jack Dempsey, just a bunch
Sounds
of...
like the PetSmart special.
Yes.
Like, oh,
right.
Ooh, yeah.
Couple
yeah.
Parrots.
I'm gonna get all these.
It was just
Yeah.
it was just a South American salad of fish that should not have been in there. I tested the water. It was unreadable. So I was guessing 200 parts per million ammonia. It was like red, like
Wow.
blood red.
Yeah.
And I said, this is really bad. So I said, I'll be back again tomorrow, and I'm going to do another service. And then I'm going to come again in 2 days, and I'll do another service. And I got him back to where it was kind of manageable.
Yeah.
But as you know, with parts per million, you have to keep doing it to get those levels down. So eventually, the customer's really nice and said, I'd like you to service my tank. My old aquarium company just stopped coming, and
Wow.
they were very flaky. And I said, okay, well, I'll just come every 2 weeks and I'll service the tank. And I said, but this is not working out. This is going to be a disaster. And I said, every time I come here, your parts per million are 120 plus. And it's not healthy for the fish. The tank looks terrible. Several months go by, and I eventually convinced him to buy a big tank. So now he has a 125, and the stocking is much better.
Oh, I like that. I like how you upsold him on a bigger tank. Because I would have been like, you just need to take fish out of here, and then I would have failed.
So I have a
Right.
question.
But
I
I-
have a question.
Yeah, and I charge more too.
Okay, that was the question. I was saying
Yeah.
you upsized the tank and then did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I made it very clear to the customer, because it was continual income, so I don't want to upset the customer. And I said, I'm not trying to upsell you, but I want you to be happy with your tank. It's here in your lobby of your office.
Right.
So, and he really cares about his fish. Actually, the Oscar that I have, and we can talk about that. It came from that tank.
Oh. That's a series on his channel that's been going on.
Yeah. So he got the 125, and I explained to him the difference in the service cost. So I did the swap, and fortunately, there was an existing tank there, so I took all the filters and the substrate, and then he bought like an FX4, and it's doing well now. But so now the tank is doing really well. And then we took the old tank, and he said, "What can we do with this old tank?" I said, "Well, we can set it up because you have 2 offices and down the hall in this building." He said, "I want a saltwater tank." I said, "Well, it's a lot of work." I said, "You're gonna have to buy a lot of equipment, and this is only a 37 or 40-gallon tank, so." Probably put like a giant sump underneath. And he goes, "Well, can't we just do something really simple?" I said, "Yeah, we can do what's called a fowler tank, so without any corals, and just live rock and some fish and some snails." And he goes, "Okay, I want that." So I ended up buying some live rock. I had some cycled media. One of my other saltwater customers gave me a fish for free because it was a little damsel that was terrorizing their tank, and they put it in their sump. So I took that and put it in there, and so now I service both. So I go there every 3 weeks. I usually go like late in the day, like on a Friday when it's kind of slowed down. And so those 2 tanks, it's $170. It takes me about 90 minutes in and out. So it's pretty simple.
So that sort of leads me to my next question. Like, what are the types of tanks that you're doing maintenance on?
So my preference is to only do freshwater tanks. Okay. And I think that there are a lot of other maintenance companies that focus on reef, saltwater tanks, et cetera. And that's their specialty. And they get a lot of the larger businesses, the restaurants, the hotels, and they service those accounts. And then the problem when you get into those accounts is then you have issues of insurance and being licensed or bonded, and something goes wrong. It's a big deal. My preference is being able to go to one of my customers' house, and she has a 120-gallon tank with some Severums in it, and I take care of it, and I don't have to worry about all that other stuff. And it's a lot simpler. It's faster. I did have a customer that had a reef tank. And as you know, it's much more involved for most fish keepers, it's more work. They had an RO system in their office building for this reef tank. So I would tell them, today's Monday, I'm going to be there, Wednesday afternoon, make sure that you have the water ready. They would add salt to it, get the salinity right. They had all the equipment, and then I would do the service. And, but that customer, they hired an employee to take care of it, or one of their old employees that set the tank up came back to work there. So now I just have the one salt, the Fowler tank, and then all the others are fresh. So and I think there's people always think saltwater and that's where the money is, but if you think about the cost of equipment, the time, I think that you can make a lot of money just doing freshwater tanks, especially for a lot of home. And then if you look at where the majority of people have freshwater tanks over saltwater tanks, like at home, and if that's your focus, I think there's plenty of business out there.
So I know we had a comment in the chat. Do you have to carry insurance?
Well, my advice is you should. And what you carry and how much you carry is going to be dependent on what you have as assets. So for me, I'm renting. I don't own a home. If I owned a home, I would carry a different policy. The fact that I'm renting, I don't have to worry about someone going after my home. They can only go after whatever assets I have. Right. So I carry a smaller policy than if I own. And then if you don't own. If you have a smaller policy, obviously it's much less costly. But yes, I would advise anyone to just protect yourself. It's a litigious society, so someone gets bad because they tripped over your hose or something, and something bad could happen. So definitely making sure that you have insurance, that you are okay to operate in that city or whatever. So I made sure that I set up a business with a business license, and just so that it doesn't come back to me.
And that was a good point, because when it comes to income, when you're saying $500-$700, something like that, not that much, a lot of the countries are going, that's a ton of money, but you're from California, and so cost of rent and that kind of stuff is crazy high.
And specifically the area that you're operating in is San Francisco, which is about as high as it gets.
It's about as high as, so San Francisco, unfortunately, it's a great city and it has its pros and cons, but the cost of living is, it's not realistic compared to the rest of the country.
Right.
So Manhattan and San Francisco are the two highest markets. So when a one-bedroom apartment in San Francisco is $3,500 a month, so it's kind of silly, stupid. So so I guess in relative terms, $500 to $700 seems like it's very little, but in some parts of the country, that might be half your mortgage. So.
Do you think you get to, or do you base your pricing knowing that the house you go to, they're going to pay $3,000 to be there, so that no.
I actually, I that's a good idea. So maybe I should go back and look at my pricing tier. But I base my pricing on, so generally my pricing is set on gallons. So from 0, but a small tank up to 55 gallons is $45 for freshwater, $55 for salt non-reef. And then it's tiered up. So, then it goes up to 100 and then 150, et cetera. So there's different levels. So for example, the 125 that I service is 115, and then I charge them 55 for the Fowler tank. So, so I just based on that, but then I don't give them a set price until I see the location. So if you are going to set up a service business, my advice would be, besides doing all your research and everything, which we can talk about, my advice is don't quote anybody until you see where you're going. If you have to climb stairs, if you have to bring your own water, there's all kinds of logistical nightmares that you can encounter, which we've all done.
I've done maintenance, so I definitely know, I always did the phone quote of it sounds like it's going to be this, and even that's dangerous, because then you show up and I'm interested to ask your nightmare scenarios. But one time, there wasn't even water on that floor of the house. And I was this is ridiculously difficult to gravel vac when the water has to, I'm downstairs. There's no toilets or anything down here. Like, how do you even get water down here? How did this situation even happen?
Just weird rain barrels or a hose from outside.
Yeah. In fact, the office building customer that I talked about, I bring a big Rubbermaid 55-gallon, on wheels, and I have to go down a hallway to their janitor closet to fill and dump.
Wow.
So I'm pushing through all these other businesses. I'm going down this hallway, pushing, hundreds of pounds of water.
Yeah.
And it's on the 5th floor. And so
that's how you got the muscles.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like that power sled.
Yeah.
Should always pull your 55-gallon buckets.
That's actually
That is the golden rule.
I've seen a few people trip with them.
You hit that rock.
Yeah, usually what I do is I get it started by pulling, and then I kind of. But you're probably right. Pushing or pulling would be safer. But anyways, so you're moving water, and so I would never, if there's any, just like you said, you don't know what even something as simple as refilling the tank. If you have to carry buckets and
that's why I hated
buckets,
saltwater.
right?
That's why I hated saltwater tanks, is because I always had to lug in all the RO water.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So for my salt customer, it's Fowler, so it's a lot easier. So I'm just treating it at home and then pre-mixing the water and then bringing it. But I still have to bring it, right? So I'm still having to, and I have to go through the elevator and down the hall with this water, and it's just So it's not easy money. It's definitely hard work. So I think, from a labor standpoint, there are a lot easier ways to make money, like breeding for profit, as an example, because you're not doing as much physical labor. But if you look at the amount of dollars that you make for the time that you invest, I think the service is definitely, and you have very little overhead, right? So once you've purchased your equipment and...
What do you think it takes, like, a dollar amount to get started with equipment? Assuming you have like a vehicle to get there. We'll assume that you own a car.
You should have a sweet van.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real here. You should have a sweet van.
Maintenance van.
Do you have a sweet van?
I don't have a sweet van.
Oh.
Yeah. Both of so I have a couple cars, but my maintenance car is just a Ford Focus hatchback.
Oh, okay.
And I just tip the garbage can sideways and it fits in there. And
all right, that's sensible.
Yeah. So, it's easy to park. Yeah. But I am actually going to sell that car here in a month or two and buy a truck.
And get a sweet van.
No, I'm getting a truck. Oh. Yeah. No sweet van. But
I have high hopes for a sweet van someday.
I loved vans. I've had a lot of vans in my life. Lots of trucks, lots of vans, because I used to, back when I had a motorcycle shop and I was racing motorcycles, I had to transport bikes.
Yeah.
So vans were the best, and you'd sleep in them. You'd go to a racetrack, you'd sleep in the van and roll the bike out. But anyway, I'm getting a truck, not a van.
There's a sweet Transit near me I keep eyeballing.
I want a Transit or a Ford Connect. Is it a Transit? I want one of those, either one of those bad.
Yeah.
There's a used one for sale by my house. I could drive by it and I'm like, oh man.
Oh, sweet man.
Yeah. And the thing about those is, if you having to stand up in the back of like your van, like if you can't stand up and you have to crouch. So those vans you can stand up because they're 6 foot plus ceiling. So it can make it's pretty nice. But no sweet van.
So starting equipment cost?
So, I didn't really itemize it when I kind of did it because I was just kind of piecemealing. I would say if you were to, I would definitely recommend having separate equipment from your home and your business.
That was my first mistake for me. I was like, I own all this stuff. And then no matter what, I'd be like, oh, the sink adapter's on my sink at home.
Right.
Oh no!
Yeah. I would say easily, $300 to $400 would probably get you started.
You think that'll cover you on fresh and saltwater stuff, like all the kits and everything?
Maybe more, because it depends on how you're reading salinity. So if you're just using the hydrometer, if you need a refractometer, those things are a little bit more expensive. But because I mean, for me, I'm all about efficicy. So how can I move water from A to B and B to A as quickly and as efficiently and safely as possible? So pumps.
Yeah.
So like for me, I carry 3 pumps with me, all on vinyl tubes, and so those pumps, they're $50 to $70, $80 per pump, right? So
using the good Rio ones.
What's that?
You using Rio
Yeah,
pumps?
what's your pump
choice?
flavor?
I
Pump flavor.
actually have 3 pumps and 3 different brands. So,
and which one's the best one? What's your main fighting gun?
Actually, my favorite one is it's a fountain pump from Lowe's.
All right.
Yeah. So it's because the gallons per hour. Actually, I use them in my sump and my African tank too. I've got a couple of them in there. The gallons per hour is like maybe it's 500 gallons per hour, four, but it's super compact and it's cheap. So like you go to an aquarium store and you buy a pump, it costs more than a very similar pump that you buy at Lowe's or some hardware store.
Yeah.
So it's the fountain pumps that you have for your stone fountains outside.
Cool.
So that, that's important. Having a separate set of algae scrapers and all different kinds for acrylic, for glass, metal, plastic, scrubby surfaces. Obviously, buckets, chemicals are very important. Something to transport everything. So I use a suitcase to kind of tuck everything. Extension cords, master test kits, pythons are always good to have.
Do you wear like a certain outfit or anything? Like are you branded up or?
I wear a t-shirt. So I have my aquarium surface t-shirts that they're just black with a logo on them that says Tazawa Tanks and Aquarium Service.
Okay.
I picked black just because they
So
get
that's where
nasty.
the channel name came from then? Because it was
Yeah.
since before?
Yeah.
They don't
so-
say Tazawa Tanks at YouTube. Check it out.
No.
Click the
Actually,
link
I
below.
do have Tazawa Tanks t-shirts, but they're like my logo and they're too nice to wear because you'll get like grunge.
Can you get those on Teespring or something?
You can't.
Can I get one?
actually.
I can't get one? We don't have a link?
No, I'm not.
They're
not there
a
yet.
coveted item.
Set that up.
Yeah,
They're rare.
yeah.
I'm gonna figure out how to get one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can get you some shirts, but I had some made, and the person that designed my logo for me, I'd have to go. He's super busy, so and he did it for free, so I'd have to go back to him and say, hey, can you change the design so that I can load the image on Teespring? Because then sometimes it has like the border, and it's.
There's probably a lot of out of work graphic designers down in San Francisco if he's not available.
No. I mean, he has 2 other jobs, but he also is a designer, and he has his own company. He has his own clothing company.
Wow.
Wow.
You went like super pro.
Yeah,
that's legit.
he's legit. He actually travels the country and goes like all the Comic-Con things and sells all the.
I just got a magic marker and some old shirts from
I hit
Goodwill.
up the Fiverr. I got $5 on Fiverr. Who's got a logo? Let's do this.
Let's do this thing.
We're gonna start farming that out for Real Fish Talk right now. I got $5. Who's got something fishy?
I was actually just gonna take a picture of the RFT.
Yeah.
And then photocopy
Just
it.
take that. And
I was just gonna hit it,
plaster it on a T-shirt.
take a picture,
Well, I was
go
just
to
gonna photocopy it
Instagram.
because I got safety pins at home.
No, you take a picture. You go to Instagram. You hit the X Pro 2. Boom, we got it.
That's
X Pro
true.
2
X Pro
filter.
2 filter.
That
Yeah.
ratchets it up
X
a
Pro,
notch.
X Pro 2 is the best filter
Yeah,
on there.
yeah,
that's
for
by
sure.
far the best one.
Yeah,
Good shadows on that one.
Yeah.
that's right.
Good for when you're doing that.
How do we all know that?
The muscle pictures.
It's
If
the
you ever
best
see my
one.
Hey, man,
muscle
have you ever-
pictures on Instagram, it's because this filter just
You just throw that on there.
shadows, right? If you go to a bodybuilding show, there's lighting and shadows and paint and
Yeah,
The whole thing.
But outfit's just a Tazawa Tanks t-shirt, and then I'll wear black pants and some tennis shoes, just because it's familiar to the customer. They see me walking in. There's no question. Someone sees me with a t-shirt on. They don't ask why I'm in the building.
yeah.
I'm not.
And it's messy.
I'm not saying that you have to go with the short sleeve button down shirt,
I thought it was a requirement, but
I'm just saying it's a good option.
Yeah.
You
Short
might
sleeve button down
consider.
shirt with the little
Yeah,
Yeah.
the logo
Maybe.
action.
right. It works well when you're trying to keep that parrotfish from biting you, and you've got your armpit getting all green and black from the the BGA and
my worst thing whenever I did tanks was like you're cleaning a tank and then you somehow stick your arm over a rim somewhere and there was rotting food there
yeah.
and then you get to smell it the rest of the day because like no matter how much you clean it, you're just like, oh, I smell rotten. It's horrible.
right.
Meanwhile, you lined up and this is a good question. Do you line up your jobs in a row, or is it like we do one a day, or is it like, oh, I'll hit these 3 on a Saturday, or?
I like doing one a day. Although I do have one customer that sometimes falls on the same day as that other customer.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just because for me time is important, and I have to fit in because I'm gone all the time. I have to fit in family time, gym time, my real job, and so I try to limit it, especially if I'm working all day and then I go do a tank in the evening. I don't want to do 2.
Right.
On Saturdays, sometimes I'll, but I kind of have it spaced out to where they don't fall on the same day. So so far it's working.
Do you turn down clients? Like,
Oh,
are
yeah.
you at a point where you're like, I don't
yeah.
want more clients?
At where I am right now, I don't want more clients. Again, because I'm not. It's not that I need.
Well, you might want more clients, but you just
I don't want to do the work.
You just don't have the time.
Right. I don't have the time, so maybe I would pick up like one more customer if it was the right situation. But for me, it's
You need to compile a list of 7,000 new customers and then go, yeah, all
I'll
right.
do this
I'm
one,
just going
right.
to go ahead and do all these now. Yeah.
So it's because you have to you have to fit everything into your life into that, and then there's some other fish related projects that can't talk about it. I'll talk about it off. Well,
Sure.
I can talk about it. So I'm considering volunteering some time at the local public aquarium
Okay.
because they were looking for some volunteers, and I'm
Yeah.
a member of the aquarium there. So I'm actually going to meet with them tomorrow afternoon when I
Nice.
fly home, or not tomorrow, but Thursday afternoon when I fly home, and maybe I just said I'm available on some weekend times.
Yeah,
maybe,
and you
but-
see what comes out of that.
Yeah, I feel like I could learn a lot,
Uh-huh.
because even though I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of knowledge, I'm not an ichthyologist, I'm not a scientist, and these people are working with millions of dollars worth of equipment and
Yeah.
fish,
Is
and
the
so-
position like you train to become a docent, like you lead people around, or is it like you're behind the scenes servicing
behind the
equipment?
scenes is what I want to do. And so
Yeah.
you can choose to where you would volunteer your time. And I
Mm-hmm.
said I want to volunteer my time in the aquarium, behind the scenes, cleaning
Okay.
filters, just stuff. But I think it would be good. They want a pretty lengthy commitment, but if I can,
Yeah.
because I also did a little bit at the local koi gardens, the tea gardens in San
Okay.
Francisco and Golden Gate Park. And actually, I was there visiting with my wife, and I said, something's wrong. Something is really wrong with these ponds. It was horrible. So I reached out to them, wrote a lengthy letter to them, essentially an email, and they wrote me back. And I said, I'd love to help for free. And
Wow.
I went down and met with the person who takes care of them, and we talked a bit. We spent a couple hours with them, and we talked about filtration. And he was using sodium thiosulfate
Yeah, to dechlorinate.
to dechlorinate, but we use
Yeah.
chloramine. And I said, well, that's
Oh.
why you're having these issues, because it's probably because chlorine's what chlorine and ammonia bonded, and it's probably removing
Mhm.
the chlorine and leaving the ammonia. And this is so we talked about it, and he's trying some different things. And so yeah, I just feel like if I can continue to be more well-rounded. So anyway, getting back to your question, because that was kind of a tangent.
No,
but,
that's what we do here. We tangent.
yeah.
It's all useful.
So the number of customers I think right now is manageable for me to be able to focus on all the important things, and I have turned customers down, and it's usually because of distance.
Okay.
So like Seattle,
Yep.
the San Francisco Bay Area is restricted by water. So I don't like crossing bridges if I don't have to.
Are they
I'm
all
on a
toll
That's gonna be
bridges?
that's
They're
gonna
all-
be an extra $50
they're
just,
all-
to,
Yeah.
just to be able to drive.
I actually do
across.
have a surcharge, so I do. I have a
Oh.
surcharge for me going past a certain radius.
That makes
so I
sense.
have a radius, and I'll say this is the area where I will service, and these are the rates.
If you've ever paid the toll across the Golden Gate Bridge,
Yeah,
I haven't
y'all
paid
know
it,
what I'm
but I've
talking
watched someone else pay it as they drove me across.
it's astounding
Yeah, I think it's $6 or $7
each way.
Each way.
No, just one way.
Just
On the
one
Golden
way.
Gate Bridge, it's one way. All the bridges are one way, but every year there's something coming up on another ballot measure where they want
Yeah.
to. It's just so it's going to go. They want it to do like the 7 to 8.
That's real smart though, because you're like already hedging your bets, knowing that if you know that's going to go up every year, you don't want to hit your customer up like, by the way, it's $2 more for the service every year.
Right.
Meanwhile, it's just chipping away at the profits.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I have to go over a certain distance, I do a surcharge for the time, the distance. So, so if I have customers that will reach out to me. So, like for example, I live in San Francisco.
Right.
Oakland is right over the bridge. It's close as the crow flies, as the raven flies, but it's very arduous to get there because you have to fight traffic through the city, across a bridge, to that city, and then fight the traffic back into the city. And for me, it's not worth $100,
Right.
once every 2 weeks. I just am no interest. Now
Right.
I will do special jobs outside of the area. So if someone says, "Hey, I'm moving," or "I have this big project," sure, absolutely, I will be there. This is approximately what it'll cost. When I get there, I'll give you a final quote.
Right.
And that's because I know it's just a one-time thing. I'll be there for 2-3
Right.
hours, and I'll charge them my rate. And so
So a lot of people have been asking, how do you find your customers and that type of thing? Like, and I think the best advice would be from when you actually started, not like, well, right now it's like everyone loves me and
Right,
YouTube or
yeah.
whatever, but like when you're like, I'm going to clean a fish tank, how'd you get
Right.
number one or something
Yeah.
like that?
So the first thing to do is find out if there's even a need, right? So there might already be 5 other people in your area, and if your market only has 500,000 people, that's probably saturated.
How did you find out?
I was listening. So I just kept hearing people always asking for help. And then I would hear the local fish store owners, well,
Okay.
you know, and I don't really know anybody here.
Oh,
Or,
okay.
try this guy maybe, but he's kind of busy. Or this guy only does restaurants. And there are some good service companies in the area. And there are some that I'm not even in the same league because
Right.
that's what they do. So I just said, let me find my niche and let me just focus on where I think I can help. And I hear that there's a need for someone local to help people with their freshwater tanks and help them with little projects. So I talked to the local fish stores and said, well, they know me. So, hey,
Yeah.
this is what I'm doing now. Gave them some business cards. They said, absolutely, we will pass your name out if there's a question. So they've done that. So that's a big, if you can, network and connect with people in your market. But Craigslist is free. Make yourself a nice professional looking advertisement and you just upload it and you can refresh it every 7 days. Or I haven't done mine in a while because I don't want new business.
Right.
So now I only do it like once every couple months when I feel like I just throw a little
Okay.
feeler out there. But so Craigslist, I was just bombarding Craigslist, and that's how.
What's your criteria in like 30 seconds of like a good Craigslist ad? Like what are the key points like?
Key points is very quickly tell them what your service is. So there's a lot of Craigslist ads and different things that are just too wordy. So you got to capture their attention right away. Photographs are great. So if you go onto Craigslist and if you're shopping for a car or an aquarium or anything, the more photos tell the story, the better. So I don't have pictures of me carrying buckets, but I have pictures of fish and very nicely scaped tanks, and that catches people's attention right away. And then immediately people can see within the first paragraph, this is what I do. And then I constructed it in a way that it's not like a run-on sentence. So here's what I do. And then down below it is more wordy and it gives in detail about what the services are involved, but it's very easy to differentiate between my service and then reading the details.
Okay.
And then just make it easy for people to contact you.
Yeah.
So.
And then, so if someone's just starting out, like let's say they're gonna make that Craigslist ad. Is it like, do you send like, oh, give me a call, send me an email? Does it go see my website? Like how would you recommend people start?
I would recommend email. I would also recommend that if this is something that you're going to do, think about it like a business and don't just say, hey, I'm BobbyJoe@gmail.com and use your regular email address. Make an email address. So I created a Tazawa Tanks email address.
Is it like at gmail.com?
At gmail.com, right?
Okay.
So it's free, right?
Yep.
So you can, or if you have any internet provider that allows you to have, an email address, just have it to where it's professional, so it doesn't sound like, you're just some person that's walking around with a bucket and you're cleaning tanks.
Right.
So, because people, these are people's pets. So, if someone were to come into my home. I have a topic I want to talk about.
Yeah.
But if someone were to come into my home, I would want them to be professional. I would want them to be clean. I would want them to, for me to be comfortable with them taking care of my pets.
Yeah.
So we can just segue into something.
Sure.
Because
yeah.
your name actually came up recently at my house. So
okay.
This is going to sound a little bit morbid, but my wife and I were going through like our health insurance and who the beneficiaries are for death or life insurance, because she just changed jobs recently, and so I said, well, here's how much money you will get if something happens to me, and this goes to my daughter, et cetera, and this is for college. And I said, well, what about the fish? Because we have 32 or 33 fish tanks in our house, and she could not take care of one tank,
right,
let alone.
Right.
And she goes, well, I'm just going to call your friends up in Seattle, and they're going to come down here. And I said, no, like they've got their own stuff going on. I said, you just call because my brother's a fish keeper.
Okay.
He's really, really smart. I said, call my brother, and he'll fly over. Obviously, he'll be here anyway, and but I want to keep a tank. Because I want it to reminded of you. I said, okay.
This is a super morbid conversation.
I know, right?
I
was like, well, yeah, it's the stuff you just.
It happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So
married couple.
So she decided that she's going to keep the Oscar.
Okay.
And keep the Oscar in one of the 75s.
So you got to make sure that Oscar is set up legit.
Yeah.
In case you get run over.
Yeah. So the Oscar's got his own tank now. He's in a 75 by him. Well, he's got a couple catfish in there. And a little baby cichlid, but which was an accident. But so the Oscar was a rescue from my customer at the service customer. So the guy with the 40-gallon tank that got the 125, when he got the 125, he was all excited because he's got this big, beautiful tank and the FX4, and it's pumping lots of water and it's looking great. He wanted another couple fish. So the next time I showed up, I saw a red devil. / Midas, whatever, right? And another really beautiful Oscar. And I thought, okay, it's okay. It's a big enough tank, and I'm here monitoring it. I'm taking care of it, so it's not like some guy's going to leave it here for 6 weeks and forget about it, and you have some issue. So I said, this is probably going to be okay if they get along. There was lots of space in the tank for them to kind of hide behind plants and woods, fake plants and wood and everything. And then he got some other little fish. He's kind of the shopitis thing where he's got clownliches in there, and he bought some crabs. He said, I bought some crabs last week. I can't find them. I said, well, yeah, because they got eaten. They're gone. They were this big. But
you bought a special lunch.
Yeah. So I showed up one time. This was, I guess, last fall and end of summer. And I saw this Oscar, and this Oscar had this huge wound on his body. And it was the worst wound that I've seen on a fish that wasn't like a fish on the table to be filleted. Like, it was really bad. And I said, something happened. He goes, I don't know, man. I just saw it like this. I came here on Monday, and I said, well, something happened. He got attacked. This is not normal. They said, he's going to die. He's going to die in this tank. He goes, I know. Can you take him and rescue him and bring him back to me? I said, sure. So I took him home. I had a bunch of quarantine tanks. I put him in a 20-gallon tank and clean water, did my triple meds just to make sure he had nothing, and your blend of your meds.
My tried and true.
Yes. Yeah, I use it all the time now. So, and nursed him back to health to where he was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, your fish is healthy. I brought him back, and I serviced. So I brought him back. And I serviced a tank and kind of moved some stuff around, put him back in a tank. Well, it was because it was chaotic, right? What you try to do. Refilling. All of a sudden, I see the Oscar near the service, and I hear, bam! The red devil hit him.
Oh, while you're still there?
While I was there, because I had the lids open. I was still servicing. Water splashed like 6 or 7 feet up onto the wall. And I said,
did the owner see it?
The owner was down. He's in another office, down the hall, and then I saw a little bit of a wound, and he came back in. I said, "Here's what happened. Here's the water." He said, "He's going to get killed by this guy." And some reason he's going after him. I don't know if it's a color thing or just setting dominance in the tank. But because at first I thought it was like, is this like a pleco? Like, because it was like scraped down to like no scales all the way down to the flesh. Like, it was really bad. So I thought maybe like a pleco kind of like was grabbing on him because it wasn't eaten. But so anyway, I said, this is the doing of the red devil. And he goes, well, I love the fish. She's really pretty, but you'll take care of him. So can you just take him home? I said, yeah. So I took him home, threw him in a 40 breeder. And then I recently moved him to a 75. So he's my wife's favorite tank because of everything he went through. And he has more personality than the African cichlids and everything. So,
do you think that brought your wife more into fish, or?
She kind of looks at it like art. So she appreciates it for the aesthetic value.
Yep.
But would have zero interest in having a fish of her own. Although I am going to put a tank in her office. I want to put some white clouds in a 10-gallon and some plants and go service it. Just
get a little 10-gallon Planet action in there.
Yeah, because I need to move the white clouds because I need the tank they're in, and then I have this extra 10 that's sitting there. So I'll put it in her office and it'll look good.
Nice. I have a couple questions here I cherry picked. One from Martin Bull was asking, do you carry all of your own chemicals or do you use the customer's chemicals?
I carry my own.
So you carry all your own, you don't use any of the customer's
I carry my own for a couple of reasons. One, I advertise that I bring my own chemicals and that it includes chemicals in the service. I also don't want to use their chemicals if they've purchased them for their own use, if they're doing any kind of maintenance in between. Also because the chemicals that I use, I trust. Not that I don't trust theirs, it's just that I use the ones that I use all of the time.
Right.
So I'm very familiar with it. I'm very familiar with the right
It's okay.
dosing.
You don't trust theirs. We know what's happening.
Yeah, so I mean, and everyone has their brand preference, right? So some people love Tetra, and some people love Seachem and Fluval, and I just like to stick with what works for me, and yeah, so I use Seachem.
Makes sense. Oh, you do. I wasn't going to ask a brand.
Well,
hashtag free plug.
That's right. Hashtag free plug.
Free plug. Hashtag free plug. Cool. Well, that makes sense. It's not only is it pragmatic, but if that's what you're advertising, then you got to follow through.
Yeah. Again, it's the professional. So I think like, okay, so if I were to hire somebody to come to my house with a mobile van to clean my dog, I don't want them to use my dog wash. Use your dog wash that you brought over in your van, right? Or,
I know oftentimes a lot of service accounts I've dealt with over the years, they would like stage the chemicals there, in like a non-branded bottle.
Right.
That was just
I would think maybe some saltwater customers might have an RO unit if they were just like, we got lazy and don't want to clean it, but
yeah. So like the reef tank that I had, they had RO and it's all set up and they have everything.
Perfect.
They had a lot of nice stuff. So they would mix the water for me, and the employee that was there that set the tank up left. So then they were stuck. So then they brought me in and I serviced it, and then they hired him back to do
so. Cool. Nice. Well, that makes sense. All right. From Little Largemouth was asking, what's the age of, how long have you been on YouTube? I guess the age of your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And why did you start doing it? Because I know the answer.
You know the answer because
he was telling me about it yesterday. I'm like, well, we should have recorded that.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, we're going to record it tomorrow. Yeah.
So I started I'm trying to remember when the actual date was. It was over a year. It was like a year and a half ago. A long time ago. A couple of years ago, or maybe more. I don't know. I was watching videos and thought, well, everyone else is making videos and everyone else is showing off their tanks, so I can do that. So I got out my little iPhone 6 and recorded my African cichlid tank, and I was making DIY backgrounds.
Okay.
So I was way back in like 2003, I had this idea of what kind of background I wanted, and I never made one. So finally I said, I'm making one. So I made this DIY background out of foam and concrete and sand and all kinds of stuff. And so I made like a series of videos on it and shared that. And so they've gotten some good views for me back then. And I thought, okay, well, this is fun. So I would do like an unboxing of some, escargot shells for my shell dwellers and stuff like that. And so I made, but it was very sporadic. And there was no professionalism whatsoever. It was just me with the phone and no mics or anything, right? And so I was up here in Seattle on business. It was spring of last year. It was like maybe March or April-ish, right around there. And I happened to stop by Aquarium Co-op because I'm a fan, and I went by, and it was like the one time you even mentioned, oh, I'm here, and I didn't know Corey. It was the first time I met him, and so I introduced myself, and I'm talking about fish. I bought a T-shirt, and so Corey gave me some words of wisdom, and I went home and I applied those, and then I saw an uptick in my viewership, and then Corey came down to San Francisco to do a talk at the Aquarium Society there, and had a chance to hang out and chat some more, and he gave me some more advice. And so then you came over, which of course really helped in a big boom in viewership there and subscribers.
Yeah, there's a whole tour of all his tanks on the Aquarium Co-op channel.
No, it was on this channel, I think. It was the Jimmy.
Oh, I think it did come out on this channel. It came out on this back when it was Jimmy of Aquarium Co-op, before it was real, before it was real.
Back in like July of last year. So
and that tour did well.
Yeah, it was cool. So my easy chair, the green chair in front of the Tanganyika tank. So so then I was like, okay, so this is cool. Like I'm digging this now. I went from because when I met Corey, I had 100 subscribers, I think, and then or 111 or something like really small. And then I said, okay, so now I'm going to really take what he told me and apply myself to it. And so I followed all the directions except for one, which I even regretted yesterday when Rob.
I don't know which one you didn't follow.
My name.
Oh yeah.
That was the only one I didn't follow because I had already kind of like the whole business thing, but and then it was last fall. I was up here again on business and met up with Jimmy and Corey again, and we were talking about cameras. And because I was researching okay, I want to be a YouTuber, so I need to buy this camera and that camera, and this is what Jimmy has, and this is what Corey uses. And I was going nuts. Like every night I was sitting in my bed with my iPad for like an hour and a half, like trying to figure out what camera should I buy.
Right.
And Corey's like, just get a better iPhone. So so and then we talked about the lenses and all, and so microphones obviously. So so it's I guess officially the long answer to your question is what is this? It's January, and that was like maybe May when I kicked it off. So it's it's been several months of me being serious about it.
Right. That's pretty good. Yeah, really. I think there's a lot of people out there they're always scared of the entry fee to get into it.
And to YouTube?
Well, it's equipment, or microphones, and that kind of stuff. And I think the funny thing is most people are like, most people have this thing that they're carrying around, and it's like,
and they just get better and better.
This is going to get you there to get started. And
it's light.
It's like when I started my channel was on an iPod 1, I think.
Nice.
Or I think even before they were numbered. I think it was just an iPod.
iPod or iPhone?
iPod,
like the
first video one.
Oh.
I went with the Transformer 2. I was anti-iPhone stuff. So I was Transformer 2 Ultra.
Nice.
I got a Daphne video that still does well, but it's in potato mode, and the audio is like, it's almost unbearable, but it gets the point across. And that's the thing, is it talked about a subject that people needed or wanted to hear about, and no one else was doing it. So even though it's the worst video ever, no one else was doing in depth on Daphnia cultivation, and you get better over time.
Yeah. I had like a $14 tripod, just like you buy at Target, for your smartphone, and I just popped it up on my chair in front of the tank, and I was not on. I didn't go in front of the camera until like last June or something. So I all my first year and a half or so of videos was just my voice.
Which I find,
you'd see my hand or something.
I find hilarious because you're just like a bodybuilder and like.
Yeah, I don't know. I was very, very self-conscious. So I'm self-conscious. So, like I had some of my friends were making fun of me I have a little Facebook group page for fish and local. And they're like, oh, because I had a picture of me in my service shirts.
Uh-huh.
And like, oh, you look more like a personal trainer than a fish guy. And it's like, okay, well, then I won't go in front of a camera.
Yeah.
So
guess what? We can do both.
That's right.
Yeah.
We can train these fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why my logo is
remember,
the African the peacock flexing.
We can do all the things. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right.
All the things.
Yeah.
So, it's...
But that was also kind of one of the things I was going to hit on was like, you do other things, but it's along the same lines of, changing your name. It's your last name. Like Tazawa Tanks. It's like, some people might be confused by it, but...
Yeah. Well, some people who are from Ohio and,
some
can't say crepes or something.
Some shrimp keepers out
He's
there
on a plane
don't know.
right now, so...
That's right. He doesn't even know.
He can't defend himself. Not yet. Uh-oh.
But,
coming at us.
So the name thing was great advice. Mm-hmm. And actually where that came about is... I think because I did a paid consult with you, We did
originally.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
We did a
That was
paid
while
consult
ago.
a long time ago, and because I
Unrelated to anything we talked about so far, really.
No. Oh, so okay. So this is in the same vein of what we're talking
Yeah.
about. Is I was actually thinking about buying a fish store.
Yeah.
So the owner of a fish store in my area had asked me if I would like to take over and buy him out, and I've owned businesses before, and I've done well, and I've lost everything. So I've kind of been on both ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, I've been from where I have $100,000 in a bank account to I have to make payroll, and I have to figure out how to make payroll by Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was that kind of a.
Yeah.
But
to that point where 0 would be better.
right.
Yes.
Right. So I reached out to Corey and did the paid consult, and we talked about the ins and outs of should I or should I not do this. And you didn't tell me I should or shouldn't. You just gave me your ideas, and it was the right idea because
I think I remember
things didn't work out for
Yeah, I think I remember saying like, if you want to open up a store, you've got at least 100 subscribers on YouTube. Like, launch that, then grab a store.
Right.
Like, if you can do, I was like, if you can do the YouTube part of it, and then you still want a store, it'll be super easy mode. But
Right.
without some kind of social media, trying to run a store, I watch my competitors now, and it's like wicked hard for them.
Right,
So
yeah.
I was like, do that, then grab a store.
Yeah, and so your advice was for me to focus more on the social media aspect, maybe do online store.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually one of our subscribers that's helping me build a website right now.
Nice.
So it's the beta test is almost done, so it's looking pretty good. It's pretty sharp and clean and simple. So I'll be just doing a couple little things.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to. When it's done, I will announce it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, secret surprise of who's
They're
doing it.
they're a well-known person.
man.
They're
Awesome.
They've
I'm
got
gonna
a
have
lot
to
of
get this off air because you don't want to.
Yeah, I'll tell you off air.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll
So,
promote them
All
later
the
then.
secrets, the
Yeah.
real Fish Talk
Yeah,
secrets.
so
I'm gonna,
this
I'm gonna,
person is
I'm gonna have to write that down over
this
here.
person has a good site, their own site, and I had mentioned about how I liked their site, and they responded and said they can
Nice.
help me. So
I'm gonna find out who it is.
yeah,
Crowdsourcing through the
I'm gonna
Fish
get to the
Fam.
bottom
yeah,
of this.
Fish
But
Fam. Yeah,
I do have a
yeah.
couple more questions here. I kind of stole out
Squirreled
of
away?
I squirreled them away.
Yeah.
I wrote them down analog style. That's how technologically sound I am.
Yeah, pad of paper, laptop.
Yeah.
From Carol Shands was wondering. I think it was Carol Shands. I hope I wrote that down right. But Carol something.
Carol.
Shands,
Hey,
I think.
Carol.
Hi. Was asking how you sterilize your equipment, or
Yeah, I actually just made a video about this. So I like to keep my equipment separate from my customers' equipment, except that I do reuse my pumps. I think down the road I probably will buy 3 or 4 more pumps just to keep them in the fish room and then keep those separately. But I have to sterilize them anyway, so I've been reusing those pumps for pumping water out. I use bleach. So bleach is kind of a bad word sometimes, but I find as long as you take the precautions of treating it afterwards, it's pretty effective. I used to use hot water and vinegar. So I would buy like these big jugs of white vinegar from the restaurant stores and just dump them in buckets and run recycled hot water and vinegar. But I wasn't 100% confident that
Right.
was going to work for me. And I said, well, I know bleach kills 99.9 things
I
out
always
there.
I always use bleach too.
Yeah, so I just do a heavy concentration of bleach and hot water, and I put the pumps in there and I recirculate them so that they're getting flushed with bleach water for a good 15, 20 minutes or longer sometimes if I forget. And then I pump it out, fresh water, rinse the fresh water through, and then a little dechlorinator and recycle that, and it's been doing well for me for a long time. And then dipping nets, I'll dip the nets, I'll dip any brush, because I don't want to contaminate one tank to another for a customer either. So
Right.
if I'm going from one service job to another, I don't want to use. So I carry in my suitcase, I think I have 4 different algae scrubbers. I have different nets.
So if you're going to 2 accounts,
Right. So I always want to use a dry set when I go in. I even carry the plastic hotel keys.
Oh, yeah.
So I just carry those because I throw a bunch of them in my suitcase because it's nice to kind of get a little.
Do you use those?
Which hotel are you stealing those from? I'm gonna write this down.
Yeah.
Hilton.
Hilton.
That's
Okay.
right. Do you use those kind of like I call them the fake credit cards or whatever? Do you use them on glass and acrylic, or just glass, or?
I will use them on both.
Yeah, me
as
too.
long as there's nothing in between to scratch.
Right.
So
okay.
as long as there's a smooth edge and there's
Because
nothing
I've always
there.
done that, but I'm like, I'm so scared to tell other people because what if it scratches stuff? And now it's like, oh, if you're doing it a ton, I'm doing
Yeah.
it a ton. I know 5 other guys doing it a ton.
Yeah.
If people are scratching their own tanks, they're doing something weird.
If you're scratching your acrylic tank, you're doing it wrong. I mean, it
Yeah.
happens, of course, and you can scratch their glass tank too, and I've done that at home. But if you are just cautious and making sure there's no substrate and there's nothing in there, snail shell or something,
Yeah.
you're fine.
Nice.
All right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Our guy Mateo 5001
Word.
from the Wyoming, Idaho.
Idaho.
Is that
Was
northern
asking-
Wyoming?
Yeah, basically. It's that no man's land.
Yeah,
Where do you live?
yeah.
Just out here, Idaho.
Idaho.
Like,
Yep.
Are we in Montana? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. Was asking about the Inglorious Beta's classroom tank that you had to help out with.
yeah.
How is that coming along?
I haven't seen it since September or October, maybe. So
Okay.
I talked to her. I saw her. When did I see her? I saw her the first Friday of January, so just a
Okay.
couple weeks ago, I guess. And then talked to her. She's doing fine. Yeah, she's. Kids love it, and so she has a 20-gallon tank in her classroom because she's a science teacher, and
Yeah.
it was a tank that we belong to the same fish club in San Francisco,
yeah.
so I bought it at auction. So I bought this 20-gallon long because I was building out my fish room. It was like $10 or something, I forgot. And someone was using it for turtles, and it had like the whole ramp thing and a platform. So one of my other friends, she is also into bettas and killifish, but she's really into turtles. She goes, I want this turtle stand. I'm like, well, here, just have it, because I don't have turtles.
Yeah.
And then
I was
Jean-
there at that auction.
Were you?
Yes, because I remember it was like Gian's
Oh,
beta
yeah,
friend,
yeah,
and she wanted the turtles.
Right.
This is weird how ingrained we are, and yet we only see each other a couple of times a
Right.
year, and somehow I'm like, I was there.
Right, I was there. Yeah. And that's when I bought the Aquarium Co-op gift certificate.
That's right.
for-
Yeah, because I donated when I spoke. Yeah.
I bought a $50 gift card for $49, I think.
yeah,
Or
that
50
was
yeah.
savings right
Yes,
there.
Right.
Yeah.
But I did it for the club. But so yes, so Gian needed a tank for her classroom, so I said, "We'll just take this one," and so she took it, and I forgot what she has in there, but yeah,
Nice.
it's a cool tank. It's a neat classroom. You know, science. I love science classrooms. Are always cool because they're just old things from 20 years ago that are still there, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, they still teach this, and like, oh, yeah.
So let's do a little tease into the second hour here because we're closing in on that first hour. We're doing some super chats and taking more questions and stuff like that. But a lot of people are dying to know more about like your home fish room. And so what do you
Right.
got going on? Because obviously you show it on the channel and that type of thing.
Right.
And then the other part we alluded to earlier was kind of maybe breeding for profit, that type of thing. So
So at home, I have 32 or 33 or 30 something systems at home.
yeah, 3X. You know,
Yes,
it's somewhere in,
3X,
it's fluctuating
right,
based
right.
on need. Yeah.
Right. Primarily African cichlids. So the way that it started, because so for me, that's always been my favorite over the years. And I've had South American tanks and planted tanks and different things, but I've always gravitated back to Africans. I love the colors. You know, I like the interaction, the aggressiveness. It's fun for me. When you keep Africans, you need extra tanks because they kick each other's butts and they'll spawn. And so
Right.
you have to, so I ended up, okay, well, I need some quarantine tanks. I need a hospital tank, and now I need a tank for fry, and this female's holding. So my fish room started building, but I didn't want to just have all African cichlids. So, because there are other things that interest me. So I wanted to make sure that I had some other things in my fish room. So my fish room, I have my giant, I've got my Oscar in there. I have a bunch of Africans and fry. I've got Tanganyikan fish down there. I have a community tank, which is it's a planted bow front, and I have killifish, guppies, endlers, and now some platies in there. And they just spawned.
Come over to my world.
Yeah, and a ton of snails. I actually feed my Oscar snails. I don't know. If,
Awesome.
yeah, so it's funny to watch them hunt the snails. So they're they're pond snails.
Yeah.
I know you love those, right? The grandpa ones and everything. So I leave the grandpa ones alone, but the other ones I just grab them by the handful and I throw them in there, and then he hunts them and eats them.
Yeah.
But and then I have one of my favorite tanks that I still don't know what to do with, but I like it. Is it's a 29-gallon that I have a pair of Paradise albino gouramis that I got from Carlos from Backyard Aquatics.
Yeah. Another Fishroom tour you can check out.
Tour on, yeah. And so he gave me a pair of those. They haven't spawned, but they're just really cool to look at. And then I also got from him a bunch of long-finned green Aeneas corridors.
Yeah.
So they're in there. Black substrate. I bought a plant from your store at Pontageton, so that's in there.
Okay.
I had the frog meat or the lettuce on top, but I pulled it out because it was kind of blocking the light. But I'm gonna do some more plants in there. But so yeah, stuff like that. So that's kind of fun. I have a Brackish tank that was just a total science experiment. So
wow, Brackish, that's out of nowhere.
yeah, so I had this 20-gallon tank. I'm gonna do a Brackish tank just for giggles. Mm-hmm. So I got some. Yeah, I put some mollies in there. They're fresh. I went to one of the big box stores and just bought some cheap mollies, and I bought some cheap platies as well.
Yeah.
I said I want to see how far up I can go with the mollies and the platies. Now I know mollies can go full salt, platies maybe not so much. So I got them to a pretty good brackish level. I want to say it was 1.012 or ish, right around there. Mm-hmm. And then I said I'm gonna pull the mollies out or the platies out.
Yeah.
And put them. So as soon as I pulled the pair of platies out, instantly, and I put them in the freshwater, spawned.
Nice.
And I didn't acclimate. I just picked them up, threw them in there.
Yeah.
They spawned right away, and there's fry all over the place now. So there must have been some kind of trigger from them going to salinity to fresh, and they just spawned. And then I kept going up with the mollies. I think I brought it up to 1.022.
Oh wow.
So salt.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So 0.2122. And but it's a mess because sponge filter and splatters and there's salt running down the tank. So now I'm going back down. I'm back to like 0.10 or something. So I don't know. It was just kind of an experiment to.
Is there any videos on that on the channel?
It's part of the, like when I do a tour, you can see them in there.
Okay.
There's nothing specific on the tank. So now I thought, okay, so the platies spawned when I put them from brackish to freshwater. I want to see if the mollies, if I bring it back to freshwater, will that trigger something?
Yeah.
Because it's clearly a male and a female. So
right.
But maybe they just won't do anything. But
all right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point to hit super chats and let people stew on what they want to ask. But I think the first super chat was from Steenfod, Big Bob. Does Zenzo even lift?
Do you even lift, bro?
Do you even lift, bro?
Yeah.
I would like to
water.
I would like to clarify a little bit from this super chat.
Yeah.
And from some of the chat earlier. Then people were saying like, "Oh, Zenzo's that buff from carrying around buckets of water."
Yeah.
Now, I would say for everyone out there to take note that it actually is 55-gallon buckets of water, and he doesn't just
it's not 5 gallons, 55 gallons.
He doesn't just carry them. I forget what the carry is called when you're straight over your head. What's that called?
To carry it? Or like just lifting?
Like if you had a medicine ball or something?
When you do the carry, there's a name for it.
The one behind your head.
That's the 55-gallon right over his head. Yeah. That's how he does it.
Yeah.
So if you want to get that ripped up, you got to get to that point.
Yeah, lift
That's
water.
What I'm saying.
Yeah, it's like 500 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, cakewalk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's 420, 415?
Well, it's
415.
So 7 times,
It's more than your coffee there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I can barely lift this,
Yeah.
so,
LG3
I get
Nation with the $2 super chat. It's got a little weightlifting guy.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect thing to
Doing a
maybe
snatch.
start
Yeah.
the picture show.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. We got a picture segment
There's
today.
no better way to embarrass a guest
Yeah,
than ask them for pictures.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Just clicking through here.
Are we good, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Which one you guys picking up?
Well, let's show
All right,
one. What is
start-
this? What is this
start up
about?
At the top.
So I've done a lot. So and we talked about this last night, is my philosophy in my life, and I'm a little older than some other people. So I've done a lot. I'm 43. I've done a lot of things in my life. And I always wanted to feel like I'm here now. I want to explore everything that I think I'm going to enjoy and try it. So later on down the road, when I'm old and broken, I'm not going to say I wish I would have.
Right.
So I've done a lot of things in my life. So I think Jamie's got a picture right up here. Is this on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
It will be in a second. Yeah, football.
yeah.
one,
So I played semi-pro football for a team in San Francisco. I was doing some other sports, which we'll talk about shortly. I was racing motorcycles, and I quit that when I got too old for that. And I said, I'm still in really good shape. And I think I was like 33 or 4 at the time. I said, I'm in good shape. I had some friends playing semi-pro football. I knew some guys playing football up in Canada. And I said, I'm still athletic. I'm still fast. I just need to put some mass back on my body. And I want to play football. I never played football in high school. Didn't play football in college. But I said,
Crazy.
I said, I can do that. So I just trained for like a whole summer and did a bunch of drills to improve my footwork, and packed on some size, because when I was on bikes I was small, because I had to lose weight.
Lean, yeah.
And tried out for a couple teams, and the team in San Francisco.
Did you know a position, like when you're like, I want to play football?
I want to play defense.
Okay.
Because as a little kid, I always wanted to be a defensive back, and so I said I want to play defensive back. So the coach, took me under his wing and gave me a bunch of technique and worked with me, and then he said, "No, you're not good enough for defensive back. You're moving to safety."
Because I was strong safety, is what I was going to say. That was going to be my guess.
Yeah, so I moved to safety because it's more running forward, which is easier than running backwards, and you don't have to be as quick. And I was a little bit bigger than the other guys that were cornerbacks. So usually a defensive back, even in the NFL, are small. I mean,
9 times out of 10 for the strong safety, he's essentially crashing the box and then reacting to whoever's got the ball.
Right.
He's like, that guy, I'm going for him.
You're a missile, right? So you're going downhill. So I moved to safety. And then in my coach's defensive scheme, which is called a 3-4. So basically, for those of you that don't know football, there's different defensive schemes, and a 3-4 is having 3 defensive linemen and then 4 linebackers versus a traditional 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers. So we were in a 3-4, and in a 3-4 you have outside linebackers that are kind of like almost like extra strong safeties. And so my responsibility was the quarterback or the running back. So lots of blitzing, and it was fun. So I did that up until I think I walked away in 2014 was when I said, okay.
That wasn't even that long ago.
No.
Wow.
It was like I said, okay, it hurts. It hurts to get up in the morning.
You're like, semi-pro football, I'm thinking I got to clean me some fish tanks. Right, that's my next move.
Yeah, it's basically right around that same time.
Semi-pro.
Yeah, that's semi-pro.
Yeah, semi-pro. But it's hard on the body, and then there's the whole head thing, and I didn't want to lose my marbles.
Before that, you were into motorcycles?
Yeah, so
let's cue up that picture.
Yeah, so motorcycles. So before that,
and these are all actually pictures of you. So
these are all me.
In that Giants uniform. In this is not just stuff we pulled off the internet.
Right.
This is literally.
Yeah, you can see
him.
his name.
His name's on the bike.
You can see.
I didn't realize. I
have actually a tattoo of part of that bike on me. So
nice.
So I
just the fender, or?
Oh, because that's the bike turning into a tiger.
Is it like a road tattoo?
Okay,
you
cool.
You crash and it's that's going to be with me forever? Or it's like
it's a real ink. It's ink. So as a kid, I grew up wanting a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And so when I was in high school, I bought a motorcycle. And I didn't have a driver's license, but I had a motorcycle permit, and then I got my motorcycle license. So I knew how to ride a motorcycle before I knew how to drive a car. Mm-hmm. So I would actually ride to school on my motorcycle, and which is kind of cool.
That was probably terrible in high school. That probably didn't work out well for you at all.
No girls don't like that, right? So so I.
As long as you have the spare helmet.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes, and they did have the helmet law. So I rode bikes and started becoming more adventurous on motorcycles over the years, and started to get faster and faster bikes, and ended up getting hurt really badly.
Oh,
I actually
weird.
Yeah.
So odd.
So it was 1996. I had a brand new GSXR 750 Suzuki, and it was the hot motorcycle at that time.
I wouldn't ride that bike today.
Right. And we were basically racing in the canyons in Sonoma County in Northern California. Some great roads in the wine country. So I was winning the race to the bridge, and it was like my first time where I was in front. I was like, I'm winning. And ended up tucking the front end down this left-hand corner about 70 miles an hour and wrapped around a telephone pole.
Whoa.
And had to ride a helicopter to the hospital and stay there for a week. Lost my spleen, so I have it's a big scar from here to here.
Yeah.
And so at that time, I said, I'm not riding motorcycles on the street anymore. And so the next season, the next year, I bought another bike and said, I'm going to race. And got it race prepped and worked with some people and cut my teeth. I think I crashed my first race weekend. I would crash all the time, but eventually I got to a point where I was relatively good. So it was like regional racing. It's not national racing. So you're racing like in the California circuit. And I got to a point where I was getting on the podium once in a while and making like contingency money to where it would pay for my racing. I would get some sponsors. And in that time, I also ended up buying a motorcycle shop and ran the shop and then ran the race team through the shop. So that was, so I stopped racing in 2007.
So you could get ready for your semi-pro.
Yeah. So what happened is 2007, ended the year and wasn't having fun. It was becoming like work, and it's very dangerous, and it's really, it's not smart to risk yourself.
It's very dangerous to just kind of be aloof,
right?
And not really focus. Like,
right.
Oh well.
So if you're not into it,
173 miles an hour into that rubber barrier.
Right. So I decided to take the early part of the year off, and my daughter, who was young at the time, I think she was maybe 6 years old or so, 6 or 7, and we were watching TV, and it was like the Daytona 200, and there were a couple of guys that I knew that I had raced with that went back to Florida to race at Daytona. I was like, oh, look at, there's so-and-so. And my daughter was with me, and she said, and I said, do you miss that I'm not racing? Because we had talked about me not racing anymore. She said, no. She goes, it was really fun to go to the track. And it's, 7-year-old girl talking about it. It was fun to go to the track and watching you go fast, and it was cool. But sometimes people crash, and sometimes people get hurt, and sometimes people die. Yeah. And if you die, I won't have a daddy anymore. And I was like, oh, like that's it. Like that's
tough. Rough.
Right. So, because she had been with me at the track when they shut it down and something happened. And so after that, I just said, okay, I'm not riding bikes anymore. And said, I'm going to play football. So started eating and lifting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
ready.
I know from talking with you before that it wasn't your first time eating and lifting when you were younger.
Yeah. Yeah.
You had another little.
Yeah. So rewinding back in time, I've always been interested in sports, Little League and basketball and, all the things that kids do. And, but I was smaller as a kid. I remember even as a freshman in high school, I wrestled at 119. So I was 119 pounds at 14 years old. So I was not a big kid.
So you could have been a defensive back, but
at that point, yeah.
Well, at that point, so and get in fights, and I wasn't the biggest guy, and you lose some fights, and I said that's not going to happen anymore. I'm going to get better at fighting. You get in some street brawls and stuff like that, right? Stuff happens when you're a teenager. So I decided that I wanted to learn martial arts, and I was. Not a troubled teen, but I was going through some times at 14 years old, and so ended up going to this karate school, and it was a very kind of old school, hardcore, traditional family, and actually our lineage goes to Chuck Norris, so it's a style called Tung Sudo. It's spelled Tang, but it's Tung Sudo, and Chuck Norris studied that in Korea when he was over there during the war, but so Chuck Norris actually taught the Alegria and the Duval instructors, who then taught me. It was very hardcore. It was not like your cookie cutter strip mall stuff. It was almost like, remember the Karate Kid movie, the original with Ralph Macchio?
You're waxing on and waxing off.
Remember the bad guys, the Cobra Kai?
Oh yeah, yeah.
We were kind of like that.
Okay.
So, not that we were mean. I wasn't
right.
But it was more hardcore.
Yeah,
so
hey, now, you don't want to be repping
no,
Cobra Kai.
No,
Yeah.
but it was so it was a little rougher. So it was like full contact. So I learned a lot and became really, I excelled in martial arts and got my black belt. And then at the time, I decided I wanted to fight full contact rules in kickboxing because it was the only way that I could hit someone as hard as I want without any repercussions. Right. So I fought as a kickboxer and ended up winning a state title for it was an amateur title, California amateur title, IKF title in 1995, spring of 95.
And how old are you then, roughly?
I was 20.
Okay.
I was 20 years old. And this was before the motorcycle accident. So yeah, I was 20 years old, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a pro fighter, and then I realized that kickboxing doesn't make much money.
Nope.
So
it's the opposite of making money.
It's the opposite of making money.
Spending money.
Right. It is. It's like racing.
Yeah, it's like racing.
So boxing was where the money was. UFC was still new. And I did have some people ask me like, hey, would you be interested in this new thing called, it wasn't the UFC, but it was like UFC style fights, MMA fights,
Octagon,
right? Octagon.
Yeah. Ultimate fighting.
Mm-hmm. And I'm a little vain, and I didn't like the cauliflower ear and the crooked nose so much, and said, that's not for me. And then, I was interested in motorcycles and girls, and I was like, maybe I don't want to have to, eat boiled chicken and run 6 miles a day. I want to go out with my friends and go to parties. And so I kind of lost focus on the fighting. But that was a big part of my life for a long time.
Yeah. So instead because of all your interest in motorcycles and the ladies and everything, you decided to join the military.
Yeah. So so my karate instructor actually was in the Marine Corps.
Here's exactly what I want to do. I want to go meet some ladies and ride some motorcycles and stuff. So I better
Top Gun
sign
thing,
up for the Marines.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you're 18, 19 years old, you're indestructible. So you think, and you have all these ideas about, what life should be, and not really thinking about the consequences. And so that's a lot of young men and women join the military. And I chose the Marine Corps because of my karate instructor was in the Marine Corps, and I felt that it was more of an elite branch. So I wanted to, be more elite than just. So I joined the Marines, and it was a lot of fun. And I was very fortunate on timing. So it was after the Gulf War. And it was before everything else happened, before 9/11. So there was nothing going on except for, Kosovo was happening, but we didn't go over there. So it was just all stateside training and
just PT and shooting guns off.
And it was good because I was in the infantry, so I would have been, like here, go chase this, right?
I feel like every good movie that involves the military, there's got to be like a bare knuckle boxing match somewhere behind the scenes. Like, was there any like, oh, you're macho? I happen to be macho as well.
Was there any tomfoolery in the Marines?
Yeah.
No.
So true story.
No
2 stories. So when I was in boot camp in the Marine Corps, and boot camp is just like the movies that you've seen. If you've seen Full Metal Jacket or anything, it's very hardcore. So they have like the pugil sticks where you fight with like these pads, but they do boxing and the hand-to-hand combat. And so the captain of our company knew that I was, because they know your profile and your background.
Yeah, they know about you.
So they knew I was a black belt, and he was interested in the martial arts. So every time we did the boxing, and you only got the box for like a minute. So, and my boxing skills were good because one of the trainers that I worked with was a boxer. So, because I needed to have good hand skills for kickboxing. So he would come, so the captain, the CO would come watch as I was doing the boxing, and some poor recruit from like, Minnesota's like, oh,
yeah.
And like, people would like stop and watch. And it was very short. They'd always stop it right away. So that was kind of fun. But actually, when I was in infantry school on Camp Pendleton, there was a guy that was he was a Golden Gloves boxer. Whoa. He was similar size. He was fit Marine, but he was a jerk. And I've always been able to handle myself, but I like to be a nice guy. I like to get along, and I'm not like an aggressive person. I like to be friends with everybody, and this guy was the opposite of that. He was like that.
Had to let you know he was better than you.
Yeah, he was like that red devil in the tank, and so he would pick on a lot of other guys, people smaller than him, and just not as tough as him, and no one liked him.
Right.
So one time it was a weekend, and so in the Marine Corps they have like these big, it's a squad bay. It's like a giant hall room where everyone sleeps with bunks and wall lockers. And he started with me, and there's like 40 or 50, 18, 19, 20-year-old Marines like sitting on the floor, like polishing their boots and shooting the stuff.
And how old are you at this time?
I was 19.
Okay. Yep.
So he came at me, and we had a thing. So he wanted to fight me right there, and it was the best fight of my life. Yeah. So that's a story. So we're kind of like circling each other around, and I was very fast, like a think of like a Floyd Mayweather, like a hand speed, right? So I slapped him. I didn't punch him, I slapped him.
Oh no.
And it was a hard slap. And imagine getting slapped in front of 40 of your peers. Like everybody was like, "Oh my God.
Yeah.
Tazawa just slapped this guy." I'm not gonna say his name. So I slapped him really hard. His face was red, and he kind of came at me, and I moved around, and then I slapped him again with my other hand.
Oh no.
And just to show him, like, you are good, but you are not this good.
Right.
And then he rushed me, and I was wearing like my green T-shirt and my cami pants and my jungle boots. Like there's like aggressive soles.
Okay.
So I side kicked him in the gut, not like break your ribs kick, but just like enough to like, okay, like
you're trying to just like diffuse it.
this is like you don't want this. You are not about that life. And that kind of stopped him. He kind of doubled over, and I said, okay, that was it. Walked away. I walked away. Next thing you know, he grabs me from behind, tackles me into this locker, and slams me, and it's a wrestling thing. I got out of it and grappled with him, and it got him in the chokehold and choked him out and sat him on the ground, and he never made eye contact with me ever again.
Yeah.
And it was not like it was like a fight where there's no blood drawn. I wouldn't have gotten in trouble for it. I probably had to go pick up cigarette butts for a weekend or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my last physical altercation.
Wow.
Which is fine.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good story, Tony.
It was a funny story, and I'll never forget his face and the sounds and the red mark. It was just.
You probably still hear like the crowd of like the
yeah, right. It was just if
like,
the internet
like, ain't nobody about that life. Right. Like, ain't nobody about getting kicked with the waffle boot. You know what I'm saying?
there was no
those treads on the jungle boots.
Right.
It looks like waffle. It looks like a
exactly.
waffle. You know?
Yeah, there was no internet back then, but it would be a world star viral video. It would be 10 million views in a week. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that, speaking of good stories, speaking about learning stuff, because we'll get back to some fish stock in here in just a minute, but we do have to do
the word of the day.
That's right. What is our word of the day for January? I have to double check. It's the 23rd, right?
23rd.
Is that what day
it is? It is Tuesday.
It's the season 2 premiere.
I don't even know what day it is anymore. What's that? I got it right here. Hey, shh. You have it cut off over here because your screen is sized incorrectly.
Wonky.
Why can't it be
That's
that
a little
one? I
behind
know
the
that
scenes.
one really
Hey,
well.
You guys, that's a little behind the scenes action here. That you can
I know tomorrow's word.
You can read the time, but you cannot read the date.
Yes.
On our monitor over here. So wave of the future. We've got new technology going. Who knows this word? Omnipotent.
Omnipotent?
Omnipotent.
I know.
Omnipotent?
That's how I say it.
Omnipotent.
But I've heard people say it that way as well.
It's pronounced.
Is it omnipotent or omnipotent?
Omnipotent.
Omnipotent.
I always said omnipotent.
Oh.
We got the pronunciation there. Am I reading it incorrectly? Because I've done it before.
I think it's a potato we're dealing with right here.
No,
you're right. You're phonetically you are reading it.
Yeah, because this O is pronounced the same as this E.
Yeah. You stand corrected.
Yeah.
In my mind, it always meant like super powerful, like Zenzo the omnipotent.
Right. It's an adjective, having virtually unlimited authority or influence.
That's pretty much Zenzo the Omnipotent.
That's right. Zenzo,
Yes.
In the world.
omnipotent.
If I was to use that in a sentence, Zenzo is amazing.
Oh, here we go.
And we
This
call
is
him-
actually.
here we go.
This
Okay.
is actually a really good. Sometimes I have to admit that sometimes the little definition use in a sentence down here
Is a train wreck.
it sometimes is a train wreck.
Yes.
Sometimes. Well, I read one earlier that made no. It was making reference to like.
Zombie chickens?
A baseball stadium from 1924 or something.
Oh,
I was like,
perfect.
who
Tied
would
right
know?
in, yeah.
Who would know
Joe.
that? You know, yeah. You're like, what? I don't. Huh? This one is just throw it into the sun. While this solution may be an easy one for the omnipotent Superman, that's right, Bruce Superman, it's much more difficult for us mere mortals. Yes.
Got it.
Superman.
why- yeah.
So if you're thinking omnipotence,
I'm thinking we just change it instead of
think Superman.
Tazawa's Tanks, it's Zenzo the Omnipotent.
Yeah, there you go.
Rolls right off the tongue. Real easy to say.
Well,
Most people can spell it.
there was a little bit of an update, so I'll watch out when you open your phone, Zenzo, because apparently you have a whole lot of new subscribers
All right, I
today.
appreciate it.
So
Thank
don't
you.
go changing the name.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
All
yeah,
those
yeah.
new subscribers will be completely
we gotta-
confused. They're like, what did I subscribe to? What is this?
And how else are we going to confuse Rob?
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
you
Although
know-
I'm not sure Rob can say omnipotent either. So
It is a good deal.
yeah, it's looking to be a good number up
All
there.
right.
Yeah.
We got a couple more super chats. Was it Tezart Mania? With $10 Australian.
You were to start with that one.
Oh man,
Translate.
I'm
Were
way
you-
behind.
you're-
I'm way behind. Dan Slater with the $5 super chat. This is why I can't get anything done. Pretty
This
much
is
me too.
exactly why we can't.
Yeah.
I pretty much sit here going, how do we make this happen?
That's
Let's do
why
this.
they have
Yeah.
to subscribe to the podcast.
Subscribe
That's
to
right.
So
Hit that like button.
Yeah,
Oh,
so-
come on now.
Yeah.
so my iPad notifies me of all the new podcasts for
Uh-huh.
yours, and you're the only channel I subscribe to actually.
Well, thank you.
And I watch others like on YouTube, like Joe Rogan, but I listen to your podcast only. I put on the headphones and I clean tanks.
Nice.
At home.
Yeah.
So it's a quick ways, and that's how I know like I can start, finish, be cleaned up, and out of the fish room before it's over. So that's how I
Nice.
know like I'm on track.
Right. If you're like, oh, they're at the word of the day, I
Right.
better
Yeah.
change the water a little
Yeah.
quicker.
Get going here.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
That's a good point. Actually, Jimmy, what's our concurrence so far today?
Do we have anyone watching
Where
this
did
today?
we get there?
We've been holding a steady 532 for a long time.
532
For a long
people are
time.
in here.
Yeah. Hey.
This just in, Chuck Norris is watching the episode.
Call all your
Peak
friends.
concurrence 538 though.
Nice.
Well, 538. We like that.
Yeah, we'll take that. On a
Zenzo,
brisk
there's 500
Tuesday.
people in here right now. Does
All
that
right.
make you a little nervous?
Not at all.
And they
That's
pretty much
all
are
right.
chanting.
If you're from the core, you can't be nervous of just
Yeah.
500
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Right.
We have to
yeah.
get this up to about
1,000.
500,000 people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then Zenzo would be sweating, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's warm.
Me? If
He's probably thinking,
if
he's
there's
like,
500,000
538. I can take 538 people at one
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
we're not even we're not even past what I can
He could-
handle
I
in a
mean,
fight.
and just lifting them all over his head.
Yeah.
Right. I think if we ever get to 500,000 live viewers, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to get nervous. I'm not going to get freaked out. You know what I'm going to do?
I think it's going to be like some kind of. I feel like I don't know what you're going to do, but it's a move that like Henry Rollins would do.
It's coming up. It's
Yeah.
coming up. I can actually give you a slight preview. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go full throttle, right?
Yeah.
And then just take a nap.
Oh, I thought you were going straight up PewDiePie. If I ever get to 500,000 watching, but can you do this?
I figured I'd just take a nap.
Yeah.
It was- What?
Okay, here's a question.
All right, so we got our next super chat from LG3 Nation with 2 super chats today. Thanks. Oh, well, never mind. I don't know. Got to figure out how to count. There's 3, so there'll be another one coming up.
Zinger.
LG3 Nation with a $2 super chat. Zenzo, big question: Team Taco or Team Burrito?
Gotta tell you, I'm Team Burrito.
Oh, he is
Hey.
from San Francisco.
No,
He
no, no.
was so close to perfection.
So here,
He is from San Francisco.
so I
can't
I
go
do like a
Team
really
Taco.
good taco, and I like those really authentic tacos.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of them in San Francisco, but burrito for the gains. To
True.
Oh, you got to
Cram
get
in.
the hashtag gains.
gains,
Yeah.
protein, bro.
Yeah.
So if you can pack in,
And San Francisco has
50
the
grams of-
world famous burritos, though.
yeah,
I mean,
got-
let's get
yeah.
let's get
Yeah.
let's get that straight. One
Yeah.
time I was in San Francisco and I was like, "What's with these burritos?"
And they're like, you want the California burrito or what, bro?
Oh, and let me, I'm telling you a little
this
story.
is not.
So
Yeah.
I was wandering around, and they were like, "Yeah, oh, check out that burrito place over there." Really, just innocuous. Like they might have had a sign. I don't, you know. Go inside, like, oh yeah, it's like people
Burrito
cooking food in
Depot.
here. Do. Like I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have a red chicken burrito, wet. I mean,
Yep.
we're all adults here, right?
yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, cool, and pay the guy, go sit down. They're like, yeah, I'll bring it out to you. And while I was ordering it, the guy was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. I mean, that's why I ordered it. And once it was delivered is when I realized, are you sure was an appropriate question. Because it was this big. I mean, it was like...
It's like 3 meals.
It was like I felled a
you-
tree
did you really,
and
like,
just
does
took a
this-
section of it and threw it on a plate with a little burrito sauce over
Like, does
it.
this come with a challenge? If
It
I
was a
finish
log.
it, I get
it was
$1,000?
Log. It was big.
Yeah.
It's heavy, but it wasn't wood.
Yeah.
But it was huge. It was gigantic. I mean, I ate a third of it and thought I was gonna die.
Did you have to use like an electric knife to carve into it like a turkey?
If I had one there,
Yeah.
I probably would have utilized
All right.
it. But yeah, no, I ate about a third of it and thought I was gonna die. I thought I had a hernia or something.
I'll finally
read
get to
that
this
one.
one. Tezard Mania with the $10 Australian super chat. The Beverage Fund, top-notch stream guys. Well, thank you. Zenzo's
Sweet.
been on top of his game, and I think is people are saying he's setting the bar, that type of thing, and I'm super excited because this show is going exactly how me and Joel were trying to put a show like this together. Like,
Right.
bring in people like, and maybe I'm wrong, but did we not talk about fish stuff and then totally not talk about fish stuff, and yet we're all enthralled with Superman in the flesh over here?
I mean, Superman.
Like,
is here.
the story is insane, and it's all true, and we got pictures. I mean, yeah, this is exactly like everything we've ever dreamed about
pretty
right
much it.
here, and it's like, it's happening, Joel. Shh. I kind of keep giving him this look in the eye, like, it's working.
Don't look directly into it.
So thank you. It's been, yeah.
This one's funny.
It's good. Yeah, you haven't. I don't know if you've been seeing the chat, but the
haven't.
chat has just been derailed into
Yeah.
Chuck Norris jokes at
really-
this point. So LG3 Nation with the $2 Chuck Norris chat. Chuck Norris tells other people Zenzo Tazawa facts.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That's great.
Oh man.
Here we go. One from Jack Betts with the $5 super chat. My water company is adding orthophosphate. Would Rhodey, or I'm sorry, when I say Rhodey, people
Yeah,
are
we
always
get it.
confused.
Yeah.
RODI. Well, I mean I know
yeah.
that you
Yeah, yeah,
guys know
yeah.
what I'm talking about, but people always go,
Yeah.
"What's Rhodey?" So
Yeah.
reverse osmosis deionized water be sufficient to take it and chloramine out? And I can answer this question very quickly. Yes, as a matter of fact. But with orthophosphate, you actually could just be using 2-stage charcoal and 1 particulate, and you will be fine. You actually don't need to go full. You can actually not. You can skip the deionization part, and it will actually pull that. It will actually pull that out of the water.
Yeah.
And actually, I have a deionized video coming out fairly soon. I just had to recharge mine.
Oh.
So it's going to be very wow.
Andy 70 VW bus. We love. Oh, there it's back. It's back. $5 super chat. You guys buy that Marina Brew. Hashtag Semper Fi. Oh, definitely. I think Dorkula is making the dinners, and we found
Amazing.
we were able to find Mr. Zenzo's weakness, and that is fresh hand whipped cream.
Whipped cream.
Fresh whipped cream. Yeah.
Yeah, the dude shows a lot of restraint until there's whipped cream in the room. I'm just saying there may or may not have been a whipped cream tornado.
Yeah. It was really good. Yeah. I had 2 servings. I had 2 servings of your wife's homemade
Wow.
cookie
Yeah.
pie
Cream.
with fresh cream, and then
Yep.
called my wife at midnight on the drive home to tell her about it.
Yeah,
That's
and as we can tell, this is a man that is able to get those gains from the burritos, watch what he eats, stick to it, but
Now we know
if you ever
Superman's
have him
kryptonite.
over, if you ever have him over, Just put out some fresh whipped cream. It's over.
It's got to be fresh.
Yeah. Oh, it has to be
Yeah,
fresh.
yes,
I mean, let's not.
Yeah.
You know, we're not.
Yeah.
Don't be serving up a bowl of Cool Whip.
Yeah,
That's
no Cool
semi-pro.
Whip.
Yeah.
That's semi-pro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man. All right. The famous aquarist $2 super chat. Zenzo Tozawa equals Hulk. My Aquarium Avengers. That's about right.
I guess. Yeah.
Hulk smash.
Well, wasn't who's the Captain America? I guess.
That's
Okay,
Rob,
all right.
Captain America. Yeah.
That's Avengers. That's not Justice. Because someone said Justice League the other day. So
It's true. Everyone wants
Yeah.
to brand us. We haven't conformed to anything. I think about the only thing so far is
the Mabu Crew.
Mabu Crew, Fish Fam.
Otherwise, if Marvel wants to sponsor the show,
Yeah, in which case we're down.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll play whoever you want.
Yeah,
I'm Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
You know, if the money's there, we're doing
Right,
it.
yeah.
Season 3.
Wonder Woman's Justice League.
Is that not?
Yeah, but
is
what
that,
he's
is
saying
that
is-
not owned by
That's
Marvel?
not Marvel.
No.
That's
Oh.
DC.
I thought like. Oh my god!
very different.
I'm gonna set the internet
You're
on
gonna-
fire.
Yeah,
I was
probably.
assuming that
You're gonna-
Stan
you're
Lee
gonna-
lorded over all of this.
No, it's two different
No.
worlds, and
It's two different worlds, two
Yeah.
different companies, two different.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
two different
I'm
OGs.
I'd like to state right now, I apologize to the entire world.
That's what I was
'cause-
saying. I was saying that if we were going to go any of them, I would say personally, I would want to go the Avengers because then I could be Iron Man, and then I'd be cool with that.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot in common with Iron Man. We both have weird beards.
Witty.
We both are recovering alcoholics.
Yep.
And super intensely rich.
right.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Stark.
All right. We've got Little Largemouth with the $2 super chat. Absolutely riveting first episode of the second season.
That's
Wait
right.
till we leave you with the cliffhanger.
The cliffhanger.
Fade to black. No.
What is our cliff? I don't even know what our
I don't know.
cliffhanger
We
is
did,
for Thursday.
the problem is, even on the first episode, we really meant to have like the video segment. We had to make do with a picture segment, which was awesome. But we got this is still evolving. We're leveling up still.
That's why I was saying I didn't know what was coming up on Thursday.
Yeah, we
So I
really
wouldn't
haven't
spoil the
done
surprise.
anything yet.
No,
Yeah.
I mean I wasn't going to spoil the video
Oh,
segment.
sorry. Oh well.
We weren't going to tell anybody.
I got excited.
Oh, but actually, wait a minute. We weren't going to tell anybody until season 2, so that technically is today.
Yeah.
So I guess we are following through on not saying it until season 2. All
We
right,
kept
you're
it a
okay.
secret. It was really hard.
I was going to karate chop you in the neck,
Yeah.
but then I realized that
Zenzo wouldn't
would-
allow it. So
I'm
you
the
have to
body.
wait.
I'm the Corey's new bodyguard.
Yeah.
remember?
he would grab me
Right.
midair.
Yeah.
Aquarium co-ops. We talked.
I'm trying to
about,
hire him to be my bodyguard.
for
Not that
the
I need one. I
aquatic
just want
experience,
one.
right?
I just want one. Yeah. Will you be at the New Jersey Aquatic
I thought
Experience?
be there.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
I thought Jimmy was your bodyguard.
I've already blocked it out on the calendar.
He's like my secret backup ninja.
He's like sneak attack with the noodle legs, you know.
So Jimmy's beside me. You need Zenzo, but then Zenzo like goes to get a burrito, and they're like, "Now's the time to attack," and that's where Jimmy's like, "Nuh-uh."
throw a fidget spinner.
Yeah, exactly. You never roll with just one bodyguard. Everyone knows that.
I'm always laughing at the hashtag gains because I have a bodybuilder friend, so
Here's the
I'm constantly
perfect.
blowing it up with just whenever they post anything on Facebook. It's
Right.
like, hashtag gains.
Yeah.
Here's the real question. Being that you, I think you've lifted a weight every once in a while here. Do you use in your normal vernacular? This is the bonus word of the day.
Vernacular.
Do you use the word swole?
I do as jokes.
All right, that's what I'm
Yes.
talking
That's
about.
good.
I was a little scared you're gonna be like, yeah, I use
Yeah.
it all the time,
No,
and I'm
it's-
serious about it. And I was like, oh no,
Yeah. It is
Like-
I like to poke fun at myself.
yeah, for sure.
And
We
I
may be into that too from
Right.
time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, swole bro. That's why I wear the extra medium T-shirts.
That's right.
On my show, on my channel.
I'm
and-
extra medium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Me too.
Right. So, but yeah, swole is definitely swole mates. It's making. Some people are serious about it.
Right.
And I-
Yeah. Some people you're like, oh, you're not joking.
and I-
Some
and I
people are
laugh about-
tripping.
and I have
Yeah.
to laugh at that. And even the gains thing. It's like
Yeah,
a joke.
yeah.
It's like,
The hashtag gains is
yes,
joking.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It's all poking and good fun. But you do have to remember, when you see your buddy who's lifting weights and they're throwing up, 385, and it's a chick.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh yeah, these hashtag gains are just jokes.
Right.
I'm just joking. Don't kill me.
Right. Right.
All right. Rob Hicks Aquariums, the $2 Canadians. I love the new format, guys. Great guest. Ooh, I got a question. I know you travel a ton for work,
Yeah,
and
it's putting it mildly.
does it take you to Canada?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I'm all lower 48. So
I'm not going to say who the company is he works for, but they are in the United States.
Yes.
I work for a big company here in the U.S. And I only travel in the lower 48
Okay.
for work, and then I go to Hawaii for my family's in Hawaii, so I visit. So I average.
Yeah, cool. So next time, just throw me on.
Throw you in a
there.
suitcase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I average about 100 flights a year.
Dang.
Yeah,
That's two a week.
I did 97 flights last year, segments.
So you're taking some time off last year then.
Right, I'm slacking.
Taking it easy.
So lots of miles.
Dang.
Miles.
I
Do you
did
get
have.
to keep your miles?
I do.
I had a riveting
And
dinner
points.
conversation about that one time.
Yeah, a few months
I
ago.
was picking his brain,
jealous.
going, learning all the things that I can't do.
That'll be the next episode. We'll do
Yeah.
how to travel.
So some people are
How to
asking.
calculate all these points? It's a number.
Some people are asking, and you don't have to say in that type of thing, but what does a man that is this accomplished in your life, what is it that you do roughly? Like, what do you, like, I fly around karate chopping people, or like, I'm in business meetings, or you can get as detailed or as not detailed as you'd like.
Yeah, basically, I manage some important customers for a large company. And so these are customers that will spend, $2 to $20 million a year through us. So my responsibility is managing the relationship with them, making sure that they're taken care of, doing business reviews, showing them different analytics, and
Oh man.
yeah. So that's what I do.
I tell you, 2018, it all comes down to analytics.
Analytics,
Don't it,
right?
bro?
Yep.
That's right.
You just get into YouTube, you get into their account, you compare, Yeah.
So
Compare.
so that's what I do, and
I have to say,
I enjoy
he
it,
showed
but-
up in one of the nicest suits I've seen in
You
a long
did.
time.
You rolled
Now,
in, and we looked extra scrub.
Not to say that you showed up in an obscene suit or anything like, is this a $4,000 suit, sir? But no, I was just saying he was
For
looking
the ladies
sharp.
out there,
He was looking sharp.
suits look good on this guy.
That's right.
Just gonna say,
They fit right.
they're
Yeah.
all,
Which
they're
is
tailored.
odd.
They're all tailored.
I'm
so,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You probably have to give him Taylor like every other week because you're just like, I blew out another bicep.
All these gains,
Dang
bro.
it!
Yeah.
Had 3 burritos last week.
Yeah.
Just put it straight to the bicep.
that would be more here.
Right. You got to watch out for those burrito gains.
But
They sneak
I-
up on you.
Yeah.
I did think it was important to kind of bring up like what kind of work he does because then it's like, and you still are cleaning fish tanks.
Yeah,
and doing
so
that,
I have a good job and I make a good living. I'm not gonna. I do very well, and my wife does very well too. So collectively, we're doing very well. But living in San Francisco is expensive. I've got teenage daughters. I bought one of my daughters a car last summer. Nothing fancy, just an older Prius, first car. And
Right.
Another kid in private school. The other daughter's in private school. So there's a lot of expenses, and when you have 30 plus fish tanks and your energy bill is $600, and
yeah.
you don't
That's
want
right,
to
'cause
get the
you're-
side eye from your wife because
Your fish room is over 30 tanks now, right?
well, the fish room has 26 tanks.
Well, I guess maybe like. So
And I got some upstairs, display tanks
Right.
upstairs. Then I got my 120-gallon aquaponics pond thing
Right.
outside. So yeah,
So you're over 30 tanks now, basically.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay. Which is good.
yeah.
But I do have a question from the chat that I picked up, and we'll get back to a super chat here in just a second. But Bentley Pascal,
Yeah.
a boy, was asking, what is Zenzo's holy grail fish that you've never kept that you want to keep? And I was like, oh, that
Yeah,
that
this is
seems
gonna,
like a question that I probably should have
this is
come
gonna
up with
surprise
in
a lot
production,
of
right?
people.
Production meeting.
And I did like that Fish Fam challenge where Simply Betta had asked me to, so I made a little video about it, like what's your desert island fish and things like that. But my answer was probably surprising, and it's actually koi fish.
Okay.
My dream,
We-
if I could do
You
one
should've-
thing,
You should have gone on the tour with
I
us the
know.
other day.
I
You would have
wasn't-
been
yeah.
losing it.
my dream is to have a koi pond.
Okay.
And I just have never had I've had small ponds where I can do like comets and goldfish.
You've got one on your like balcony.
I've
That's
got one.
amazing.
Yeah, I've got that aquaponics goldfish pond out there with shabbunkins.
It's going to be time to move. It's too expensive there for koi.
Yeah, but I want to someday be able to stick a shovel in the ground and have a real pond with koi.
I know a guy.
Yeah.
I know a guy.
So that would be. People would think, oh, like I want some fancy emperor cichlid. Like,
No,
I
I
want a
totally
koi
get
fish.
it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're in
Or
San
koi fish,
Francisco,
yeah.
and getting like land where you could put a pond is like
not gonna
it's
happen.
near impossible. You know, I mean, even when you're well-to-do, it's like, oh, you'd like to have a yard? Do you have $43 million?
Yeah.
Well, then you ain't getting a yard.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could totally get. I mean, that's kind of the way it is in Japan too. I went to Japan, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna see all the koi and all the koi ponds, and you're like, oh wait, people don't really do that because space is at like a crazy premium. Oh.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
at, like,
I get it. You have to be ridiculously
Yeah.
rich to have a koi pond in
Or
Japan.
at like the city park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's on a, it's the Japanese garden. It's
Right,
full on
yeah.
display. Yeah.
My favorite places actually to visit for fish is the Hilton Waikoloa Village on Oahu has ponds throughout the resort with koi fish and African cichlids
Wow.
and Central American cichlids all together.
Nice.
Oscars, red devils, koi, and mbuna all over the place.
Wow.
It's funny. It's just like, oh.
I bet it's fun to sit down and be like, look there, look at that one.
So I actually went on a tour with the fish with the animal person. Like I
Uh-huh.
had a private tour and he took me around and
Yeah.
it's pretty
Cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
Well, we got a $5 super chat from Michael Faulkner. Here's to season 2. Absolutely amazing, worth the wait, and appreciate the hard work. Well, we're just glad we could have Zenzo on as the number 1, and that his work kind of brought him into the area.
Yeah. And work will continue to bring me in the area because one of my larger customers is up here. So I will.
We can have you on the show again if people want. I mean, if you don't
We'll have
want, then we won't.
Yeah,
but maybe
yeah.
leave in the
Maybe
comments
Chuck
if you'd like
Norris
to
next
see him
time.
again.
We'll have to go back out and check
Yeah.
out some koi with Zenzo when he's
Exactly. So in the
sweet.
comments, let us know, or go let him know on his channel, like you got to come back, that type of thing. If you want, I mean, if you don't, that's cool too. We'll try another guest.
On to the
and,
next one.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's conveyor belt. You know how
Yeah,
that goes.
yeah.
But
Plug it Instagram. It's really cool.
yeah, you got an Instagram?
I do.
All right.
Tazawa_tanks.
All right.
So
Put it sorry.
oh.
That was like
yeah.
your personal one,
That's
probably.
that's my personal one, so they can't see anything there. I think it's blocked. So Tazawa_tanks is the public
Okay.
fish Instagram. My personal Instagram is just like family stuff, and then Twitter is Tazawa_tanks, which is.
Are you active on Twitter? Or you just have a Twitter?
I actually just set up my first Twitter account within the past few weeks, and I just have it linked to YouTube, so YouTube automatically posts.
So it's just kind of
I actually sent my first tweet today, which was the real fish talk.
Okay.
That's the first time I've actually tweeted.
Yeah.
That's not an automatic generated YouTube
Sweet.
thing. Yeah.
Breaking all kinds of barriers on the
Right,
first
yeah. Twitter,
first episode of season
2018,
2.
just-
Well, there we go.
Yeah. You decided to get into Twitter early.
I have a Twitter. I never do
Yeah.
anything on it.
Yeah, in 10 years, I'm going to get my first Bitcoin.
I gotta get somebody to operate my Twitter for me.
All right, so
I can't
I
take
think
it.
this is we got like 13 minutes left.
Uh-oh.
I think we
Really?
should talk about how you breed fish and that type of thing. And we probably can't finish the conversation, but hopefully it leaves them wanting more and then go learn more on your channel or when you come back at some point. And we're going to start delving into it because I'm sure questions are going to start coming in and we'll go down that rabbit hole until we're like, oh, but it's done. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so breeding fish for me, I am breeding for profit, although it's not huge profit, you know, because you sell a fish for $2, let's say, if it's a good one.
Yeah.
So I started off a long time ago listening to your Breed for Profit series. I think you had like 4 videos in a row or something. And so if you are interested in, I would, definitely watch those videos. But so I was thinking about that and kind of figuring out what would be a good mix for me. But I kind of kept coming back to the African cichlids. And where I live, people like them and they sell a lot at the stores. So I think, okay, what are people going to buy? So if people are going to buy fish from me, the stores, what do they want? And again, it's cichlids. So my breeding program has now expanded to where I'm breeding on purpose.
Okay.
So it started out where life just happens. You find a female, she's holding, you pull her out. You see some fry in the tank, you say, well, I'll rescue them. Now it's to the point where I have a separate tank that just has females. I keep a male separate. I'll put the male in the tank, let them do their thing, and then I'll separate the females, let the females hold and spit. And so now I have multiple tanks with fry in different stages from, actually I just forced one of my females to, not forced, but let the fry escape from her mouth 2 days ago, and Sunday. And so they're 2 days old to 6 months old, which are just about selling time.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm breeding those. My philosophy, and everyone has different philosophies on breeding fish, and African cichlids specifically. And then the African cichlid world, and maybe there's not a whole lot of African lovers on this channel, but there's, I'm sure you'll get a lot of them. But it can be kind of, I'm not going to say, they just are, you can be very particular about what type of fish you're breeding, and there's a lot of purists. You can only breed this fish with that fish, and they get really into the Latin names. And for me, it's more of, I just want to breed fish that will sell, and the stores don't care.
Right.
So you have a blue fish, you have an OB fish, you have a red fish, bring them all. Our customers are not looking for, because if people are looking for a specific fish, they're going to order it online. They're going to have it shipped from a reputable breeder. When you go to a local fish store, there's no way to really know this is exactly this type of fish. We don't. How do you know exactly that this is a, Otopharynx lithobates? Like, you don't, right? 'Cause it's probably some kind of hybrid in there somewhere down the line. So, so I just let them do their thing. So my females, I've got, different variants of peacocks. And I'll use different males, and I'll say I want a male to look like this, so I'll put that male in there, and then I'll put him back, and I'll bring in another male, and I'll use different males so I get different colors. So I've got OB, and I've got some fry licking type things going on right now, and red shoulders, and just.
And where do you? So you're selling direct to the stores.
Direct to the store.
At 6 months, how big are they?
So the fish I actually. Recently brought over a batch of Mbuna that I grew out. They were actually big enough to where they actually spawned in my grow out tank. So they were, the bigger ones are about 3 inches. I found that the Mbuna grow faster than the peacocks.
Yeah.
Even spit at the same time, same water conditions, the Mbuna grow faster than the peacocks. So the peacocks I have now are the oldest ones, 2 inches plus, so a good 2 inches. I've got the males showing good color, so I'm seeing blues and yellows and a little bit of red. So, but I want them to get a little bit bigger before I bring them in, so I might wait another 6 weeks or so.
And is the logic like if they're a little more colored, they're going to give you more? Like, what are you getting for these fish roughly?
Yeah, so I get wholesale list price. So it depends on what they're.
Yeah.
And then they don't have to. Because a lot of them are getting them shipped in from Asia, so they don't have to deal with all that. It's like, I'll call them 3 weeks in advance and say, here's where they are. When do you want them? They'll say, okay, Zenzo, we have to get a tank ready for you, which is what happened a few weeks ago. But I want them to be big enough for them to sell. Right. If I bring them in too small, then they're going to sit on them for a month, and that doesn't help them. So it has to be where I want it to be fluid for them. So they take them from me, they're gone in a week or two, so that the next cycle otherwise, if they sit on your fish for a month, then they're not.
Yeah, then it's a reflection on you. Like your fish aren't selling.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want them to be sellable, to where if I were to go in a store and say, "Oh, I'd buy that."
Yeah.
So that's my take on.
And how much, if you had to guess on the month, what do you get? Like, I make $100 selling fish, or.
Well, so where I am in the cycle of stages of the fish. I'm just now getting to that point where I can bring in different batches every time. So I would say at the point I'm at now, I can probably start to bring in a batch every month to 6 weeks. And that batch would be maybe 50 to 75 at a time. Because I've got maybe 250 fry right now, African cichlid fry, in different stages. So, and then, wholesale on African cichlids is not high, right, as you know. So if you're bringing in a 2-inch fish, it's a couple bucks, right, and
for a lot of work.
And
are you getting?
You're not making money Right.
Do they pay you in cash, or are you like, oh, I need to buy my supplies for my maintenance business?
So I do both.
Okay.
So a lot of stores will have you, and I've done this before where I've sold fish and they just give you store credit, and then you can apply that towards water conditioners and nets and things. But my agreement with this store is that they pay me money, but in turn, because I want to keep a harmonious relationship, and because I need stuff, I will. Oh, let me just get a container of salt, or let me, so that they feel good about the relationship as well.
Right,
so
they feel it's a two-way street.
Right, you're reciprocating the profits back and forth. So, and it would be something that I would purchase already online, and then they give me a deal. So, that's very competitive to like an Amazon price or a Dr. Foster. So I don't have to worry about like losing money on the purchase.
Yeah. All right. Well, Daryl Dimer with the $20 super chat, long-time supporter of pretty much all things Aquarium Co-op, Corvus Oskin, and at this point, he's probably bought at least one of these microphones. Wow. Like he's just been, he's a solid supporter.
Daryl,
it's that kind of thing, like Patreon and just watching the videos and sharing, and half the reason right now, like here's a big thing that you guys can do when we say like you don't have to just spend money or anything like that. Like one of the things. Like if you went and subscribed to Tazawa's or Zenzo's channel or his Instagram, stuff like that, that makes other YouTubers, other influencers, whatever you want to call them, want to come on the show. Like then they go, oh, I will fly myself over there because last time I was there, my business or my whatever grew. So you can help just by doing that. And it's not that, you don't want to like just go, oh, I went over there and I subscribed, but I never watched a video. I mean, watch some videos, and in general, we're trying to bring people you guys might actually be interested in, and expose you to more than just like, oh, the top 20 channels. Like I've known Zenzo for at least over a year. He came and hung out at the Aquatic Experience. He'll be at the next Aquatic Experience, and hopefully you're seeing like, yeah, he was on that show. I watched some of his videos. Now I met him in New Jersey, and who knows where it's going to go from there. So it's kind of
that's a cool experience too.
Yeah.
So I was, we were all in Chicago for the Aquatic Experience, and I brought my wife with me. I had to because it was her birthday weekend. But,
yeah.
Hey, let's go look at some fish. So, but there were subscribers of my channel that came up and introduced themselves to me, and I was blown away. It was just like the coolest thing. I was so humbled, and she was like, "Wow!" Like, and then she went back and told her friends, like, "Hey, like." Someone actually knew who he was.
Yeah.
And I have a small channel right?
Don't we all get that from our spouses?
Pretty much.
Somebody actually knows who he is other than me.
Yeah.
Right.
Turns out it's not a complete waste of time.
Right.
I'm going to lighten up just a little bit,
Yeah.
So it was super fun, and, go out to dinner, that type of thing. And, this guy travels all the time. I'm not going to speak for him, but, you could probably hit some fish stores and stuff like that. And maybe, you can go do some burrito games with him from time to time. You build a long-term relationship. That's how we did it. It wasn't just like all of a sudden it just works. It just, I happened to be in my store. He walked in, he introduced, like that's how that works. And then here he is a year later, and it's the 5th or 6th time we've either had dinner or hung out. And it's not a forced thing by any means. And so, it's kind of a cool thing, and we appreciate everyone supporting the show to make this happen, and hopefully this just keeps replicating. We won't be able to do it, like we don't have a guest lined up for Thursday, so it's going to be me and Joel, but, you might want to tune in for that anyway, and, we'll do a little more of our normal shenanigans. We'll probably I'm guessing we'll spend the whole show comparing our life to yours, and, it's going to be, like,
Depression Thursday.
Depression Thursday? Is that like the after the good show Tuesday, right. You just been like, man, wasn't Thursday awesome? How do we do more of that? Or Tuesday, yeah. Well, I thought I was going to be on the show, so then it's pretty awesome.
Hey,
yeah,
we haven't had a day off in weeks.
I'm so jonesing for tomorrow.
Tomorrow
is the. I mean, we're still going to work.
I
but
still
it's
have a
not
bunch
like,
of work to do.
Yeah, it's not the insane commute. Get ready. People are landing like. I had to go to the airport this morning, say goodbye to Mike. I knew you were coming over.
If you guys think being around the Aqua Pros, a.k.a. Shakespeare of Fish Tankery,
yes,
and Flip, and me, and Jimmy, and Corey, and
Bob,
and just the list.
If you've ever been to a bounce house party, that is tame compared to what was going on here off the camera. Just
what was happening nonstop.
You know, yeah, it
me
was.
included. Me
Yes.
included. I will definitely include
I had to play
myself
the
in
dad
nonsense.
role. You know, I'm changing diapers left and right. It was just, it spilled another thing on the carpet. Come on. You know.
Are you asleep on the ground?
Yeah. So in this last minute, thanks for hanging out, guys. Please, he's only 29 subscribers away from 2,000.
All right.
Check it out. I know a lot of people are going to be listening to this in the podcast and after the fact, and hopefully we'll get them
Don't
there.
forget about my 2,500 giveaway.
Tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
Oh, you have a 2,500 giveaway?
Yeah, so when I get to 2,500, I'm going to pick a winner, and that winner will get a $250 hotel credit voucher to come to San Francisco, stay the night, and then I will take them to the California Academy of Sciences, where the aquarium is, the public aquarium.
That's awesome.
Take them on a tour,
I'm gonna
have
try to
lunch
win
on
this.
me. So
I'm gonna
Yeah.
try and win it.
Yeah.
I
he's
hope,
stuff the ballot box.
got to get there.
I
So,
hope that that whole thing happens like 3 days from now. Like, I hope a bunch of people listen to this and are
Yeah.
like, that guy is super interesting, and he's down to earth.
We can go to the
and
gym.
he keeps fish. Yeah,
or
hit
not,
the burrito
or get
games.
burritos, right?
Yeah. You know,
We can do
it's
both.
Yeah.
Burritos and gym.
Yeah.
This is
Gym
what I
and
love
burritos.
about this is
Yeah.
there couldn't have been a better sales pitch other than just like letting you talk. Like, because everyone got to know you, and you're either still listening right now or you clicked out.
Right.
And I'm guessing most people on the way out, you know, like, okay, you had fun on the way out, subscribe so you can get some more on his channel, and then guess what? You'll probably see, like, I know you were shooting behind the scenes footage today, so
Yeah,
like
I'll be out in a week or so, and
our people
yeah.
haven't even seen what this looks like, but you could see it on his channel.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's kind of oh, that makes some sense. I better subscribe. So, everyone
fun.
seems to love the show.
fun.
So
Yeah.
I think we did it,
Yeah,
guys. I
awesome.
think
Thanks for having me.
The pilot was a good
a
one.
lot of fun.
What was our concurrent today?
Wait
Jimmy?
till to 2,000 before leaving the stream.
538
That's right.
still.
that-
We made it to 538 today. That's
So
fantastic.
does that mean how many are watching now?
I don't know how many people.
Oh.
Well, I'll tell you right now.
400 something.
400 and something right
Good.
now.
Nice.
But once you start talking about wrapping it up, and it starts hitting on dinner time
Oh,
for
yeah,
different
yeah,
people,
Yeah, true. And it's
you know,
8 o'clock on the East Coast.
Yep,
and-
yep.
yeah.
So, you know, we'll get a lot of people listening, you know, after the fact, and hopefully enjoying it and getting some good laughs and, you know, intrigued by, like, what else does he do? Because I already know other things that didn't even get covered in the show, and I could bring them back on and be like, what about that other crazy thing that we haven't even talked about? And they'll be
Right.
like, there's no way this guy is that awesome.
Yeah.
That is impossible. So,
It's real. He's actually here.
All
either way.
Appreciate it.
all right.
Right
So
on, guys.
hopefully, you know, during dinner, he'll just be all smiles.
You know,
eating.
Nisi won something from me.
Nisi won something?
Yeah. When I hit I hit 1,000 subs in September,
Yeah?
and I bought a little nano tank
Yeah?
and an Aquarium Co-op gift card, and did a drawing. I made a spreadsheet and I cut them all out in paper, and
Wow, that
Yeah.
was invested.
It was.
Yeah.
Next one's going to be an auto.
Yeah.
But yeah, she won. so,
Awesome.
yeah.
So one last super chat on the way out, and then we're seriously going to go, guys.
Hey, that's Veronica V that bought the Aquarium Co-op.
Nice. She brought the ornaments and
ornaments
everything.
for
Yep.
myself
right
and
on.
Gian. Yeah.
Says, hey, Zenzo, thank you for your videos. I've learned a lot from you. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
So there you go. One of his dedicated fans going to bat saying, hey, this guy's cool. I've met him. He's cool. I brought him an Aquarium Co-op ornament. That's cool. If you
super
guys
cool.
want to be cool and kind of feel like you know Chuck Norris personally, you will subscribe to
Through osmosis.
Tazawa's Tanks.
Sorry, Chuck Norris's. Chuck Norris's mentor.
All right.
Alrighty, did it. 2,500
Sweet.
more, and you get to meet the myth,
Chuck
the
Norris's
legend.
mentor. Okay.
That's right.
Aspirations
Yeah.
of Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it, like the trainee became the master? Is that how that goes? Like the apprentice became the
Fu Panda.
master?
That's right.
Yeah. So thanks for hanging out, guys. And we look to forward to having more guests. We have no idea who's next and when it will be. Maybe it's Thursday. Maybe it's never. Maybe people hate this, and maybe they're like, I couldn't do. Maybe no one wants to follow this up. No. Who do you get? You can't even put Chuck Norris in that seat without him going, really? I got to follow this guy?
We had
serious?
all the guests all the
Yeah,
time.
I can. Right now, I'm going to flip over to the email and we're like, canceling RSVP, actually.
That's right.
Yeah.
We had all the guests all the time. So Thursday is 99%
And don't
assured.
forget,
Corey and I show where we're going to go in depth on some stuff
Yeah.
and the video.
yes, and every Tuesday and Thursday, 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We do this show. If you want to be present, get your question answered by, Chuck Norris clone. And don't forget the Corvus Oskin show, which is every other day that we're not streaming at 3 o'clock. And it's a little bit similar to this. Not, we don't have Tazawa on it, but hey, we can.
Hey, we can do one of those.
You aspire to do that.
We'll think of something else next
Yeah,
time.
that's right.
And don't forget podcast.
Yeah. And don't forget his channel. And don't forget, every once in a while I put out a video on this thing called the Aquarium Co-op.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of
Exactly.
weird.
Very
Cool. They may or may not own the Maboo Studios that made this.
I saw your
possible.
unboxing this morning.
Yeah.
Unboxing.
Very wild. Slight accident there.
Slightly. Yeah.
Butterfingers.
Not good. So, all right. Thanks, guys. Been a blast. Thanks for hanging out the whole time. And have a good night. Get those burrito gains.